Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
Bright Like a Supernova by BillyBobGoat. I'm going to become king of the pirates. No, I'll be even bigger. Even if it's just for a moment, I'll be greater than Roger ever was. But what shines brighter than a star? Adios.
Luffy was taken aback by the ship's imposing appearance. 3 ships were ingeniously stacked on top of one another, forming the towering restaurant known as the Bharati. The gunports on the sides of the bottommost and topmost ships had been converted into viewing windows, offering a glimpse into the bustling interior. The middle ship proudly displayed the restaurant's name, Bharati, and lacked any gunports. However, the most remarkable feature was the giant fish head adorning the front of the ship. Its mouth housed an open-air lounge and bar, leading out to a floating dock on the sides. Luffy couldn't help but notice a massive tail positioned at the ship's stern, which he assumed was used for navigation since there were no sails in sight. As he approached the ocean-faring restaurant, Luffy's attention was instantly captured by another vessel. Wait, is that a cake boat? He exclaimed in surprise. The boat mirrored the size of his own vessel but was meticulously designed to resemble a decadent, decorative cake. The boat's hull was crafted to resemble a freshly cut cake, with its layers of chocolate proudly on display and a luscious pink filling in between. The top edges of the boat mimicked dripping frosting, adorned with scattered sprinkles. Even the boat's cockpit matched the aesthetic, resembling a sweet confectionery delight. The mast stood tall, resembling giant candles, while the sails took on the appearance of a large sheet of pink gum. The boat's design was so elaborate that Luffy couldn't fathom why every detail was necessary. Suddenly, a much larger navy ship loomed nearby, almost capsizing Luffy's humble vessel. "Hey! Watch where you're sailing that thing. You almost sunk me," Luffy bellowed, clearly annoyed. A marine approached the ship's stern, investigating the commotion. He sported a white pinstripe suit, well-combed pink hair, and a scar under his right eye. "Who do you think I am?" the marine sternly asked. "Some jerk who has no idea how to dock a ship," Luffy responded quickly, not one to hold back. The marine's frustration grew, and he clenched the wooden guardrail, ultimately smashing it. His veins began to bulge on his scalp, ready to explode with anger. "Why, you little..." Before he could retaliate, another marine intervened. "Is everything okay out here, full body?" she asked, a blonde-haired woman dressed in a reddish-pink sleeveless dress that revealed her cleavage. Certainly, Moody. Full Body's demeanor did a complete 180-degree turn. He found himself smitten by Moody, eager to impress her. With lightning speed, he concealed the damaged rail and subtly swept away the ship's splinters, all while ensuring Moody remained unaware. "It was just some random civilian attempting to ruffle my feathers. You know how it goes," Full Body explained, rubbing the back of his head, clearly embarrassed. "Oh, don't be too harsh on them. They probably didn't know any better," Moody thought, understandingly. "How thoughtful of you," Full Body replied, approaching Moody and wrapping his arm around her. Then, turning to face Luffy, he made sure to hide the damaged rail. "I'm in a good mood today, so I'll let you off the hook," Full Body said to Moody in a flirtatious tone. "Now that that's out of the way, shall we get this date started?" he inquired. Of course, Moody responded, and the two of them walked off the ship, ready to enjoy their time together, while Full Body leaned into one of his men's ears and whispered something to him. They then entered the Bharati restaurant. "What?" Luffy fully processed what Full Body had said to his men as he overheard them entering the restaurant. Luffy's superhearing was quite handy, after all. Inside the ship, Luffy could hear the cannon rolling and being loaded, realizing that the Marines intended to fire it. "Are you seriously gonna? Crack boom, kr clang?" The Marines investigating the commotion were taken aback by what they found. Luffy had caught the cannonball midair, resulting in the strange clang sound. What?" both Marines exclaimed in disbelief. Luffy assumed a pitching stance, glancing down at the cannonball in his hand. "There's no way. Is he going to?" Luffy interrupted the second Marine by effortlessly hurling the cannonball back up the side of the ship. "I am, indeed," he finished the Marine's sentence, his words drowned out by the scrambling noises of the Marines attempting to repair the damage caused by their own cannon. With a smug and satisfied expression, Luffy tied up his boat to the dock, having taught those Marines a valuable lesson, before striding into the Bharati restaurant. As he steps inside, he comes to an abrupt halt, completely stunned. Even with full body and moody present, the sheer beauty of the scene before him captivates his attention. The walls are adorned with elegant paintings of custom portraits, flowing seamlessly along the circular bend of the room. Beautiful red leather booths line the walls, accompanied by stylishly crafted chairs with matching red leather cushioning. Silk tablecloths grace each table, while ornate candles cast a soft, enchanting glow. 2 grand staircases lead to a second floor, where 2 doors, likely leading to the kitchen, are embellished with a curtain fashioned like a stage theater. The stand positioned in the center of the room offers a glass window revealing the bustling activity below, while the ceiling painting depicts a vibrant portside town with numerous ships adorning the nearby waters. These eye-catching details fill the air with a sense of grandeur and wonder. However, amidst the breathtaking surroundings, the attention of both him and the other diners is inevitably drawn to one particular patron and her astonishing, consuming methods. Seated behind an imposing mountain of empty plates and food is a slim, curvy young woman. Her long light pink hair cascades down, framing her purple eyes. She dons a striking ensemble, a white low-cut tank top revealing both her midriff and cleavage, paired with orange and black striped buckled shorts held up by thin suspenders. Her legs are adorned with hot pink and dark red stockings featuring a vibrant yellow sun motif, while black high-heeled boots complete her attire, reaching up to her calves with large laces. A green Ferrerka hat with a light green lining rests upon her head, and she has an anti-eyebrow beneath her right eye. A touch of bright red lipstick adorns her lips, and a brown furred jacket drapes over the chair to her right. If gluttony were personified, she would undoubtedly be the epitome of it, capturing Luffy's attention. It seems she hasn't reached her limit, as her shorts suggest her stomach hasn't grown even a centimeter despite her relentless eating. The other diners can't help but share their thoughts on her indulgence. Oh, my gosh. She's devouring the food like she's experiencing it for the first time. How utterly revolting. I wonder if she has enough berries to pay it all. Shouldn't someone from the staff do something about her? As Luffy stands there, unsure of what to do next, a waitress approaches him. Hello, sir. A petite young lady with shoulder-length pink hair that partially covers her right eye stands before him. Her blue eyes meet his gaze. Dressed in a black frilled work skirt, a black vest with pink buttons, a black tie, and a pink dress shirt, she exudes professionalism. Light pink lipstick adorns her lips, and she wears dark high heels. However, her most striking feature is her uniquely shaped brows, curving at the ends like spirals. Luffy, ever the playful one, can't help but make a remark. Wow, let me guess. Your favorite color is pink, right? He winks his eyes and performs a finger gun motion, pointing both hands at the waitress. The waitress maintains her composure, but her eyes seem to lose their spark after hearing his joke. I'm sorry. Luffy lowers his head, realizing his attempt at humor didn't land. So, given that all the tables are currently occupied, I'm guessing you didn't make a reservation? She asks, her tone more when she approached him. And no, but I think my friend did. Alright, who is your friend? She asks, pulling out a reservation logbook, her expression unchanged. Luffy can't help but wonder why a waitress would have a reservation logbook, but he brushes it aside for now. Well, you see, I arrived 3 days early. The waitress lets out a sigh, crossing her arms as she pinches the bridge of her nose. Luffy, with his countless visits to various restaurants, is familiar with the hardships that restaurant workers face and the frustration they sometimes endure from customers. However, he's never witnessed someone working in a restaurant so visibly stressed, which says a lot. Miss, if you need to speak to someone, I can wait. That would be greatly appreciated. She walks into the kitchen, pushing open the swinging doors. Passing through the bustling kitchen, she enters the main workers' lounge, finding it empty due to the busy day. Making her way to an oversized couch, she kicks off her heels and collapses onto it, clutching a cushion tightly between her arms and legs, burying her face in it. She screams, her voice muffled by the cushion as she rolls around on the couch. He's fucking amazing. Reiju's thoughts scream inside her head. Reiju, like her brothers, has an undeniable appreciation for the opposite sex. However, being the eldest, she must set a good example for her brother who is still with her. Besides, she constantly scolds Sanji for flirting with attractive female customers at the restaurant, making it hypocritical for her to openly display her own desires. Yet, this newfound interaction with a particularly attractive male customer has ignited her imagination. The newcomer is in an entirely different league. Oh my god, he's such a dork. Wow, let me guess. Your favorite color is pink, right? He's so adorable. He wasn't even trying to flirt, he was just being funny. And that open red vest does him and me so many favors. He's built like a fortress on steroids. Forget diamonds. I'm pretty sure those muscles are the hardest things in the universe. And Reiju. Eek. Reiju tosses the cushion aside, sitting up straight in front of her adoptive father figure and her brother. Owner Zeph, I have an important matter to discuss with you. Thank goodness that wasn't said aloud. Reiju reflects, relieved. Damn, she seems tense. Maybe she wants to talk about hiring new staff. I should have helped her. Sanji starts to feel guilty for not supporting his sister. I can probably guess what those two idiots are thinking. Owner Zeph smirks to himself. Oh, meanwhile, Luffy remains in the restaurant, observing as the waitress disappears into the kitchen. He can't hear the conversation beyond the doors due to the chatter of the diners and the kitchen's activity, but he has a hunch that he's being scolded and possibly labeled as stupid or a dork. I didn't even catch her name, he laments, unaware of the mischievous grin on his face. He quickly claps his hands against his cheeks, snapping himself out of his thoughts. For now, I just need to find a place to sit. Scanning the restaurant, he realizes there are no available chairs, and he's not inclined to sit with strangers. Wait, there's someone sitting alone. It can't hurt to ask, right? Luffy approaches the table occupied by the woman reveling in her gluttony. He positions himself to the left of her and pulls out a chair, ready to take a seat. The entire restaurant falls silent as Luffy sits down. It's not completely silent, but the hushed whispers and murmurs, along with the sounds of kitchen activity, become more prominent. Luffy remains quiet, well aware of the attention now fixated on him. With determination, Luffy decides to strike up a conversation with the pink-haired glutton. Hello there. My name is Luffy. What's yours? Chew, smack, crunch, chomp, munch. Alright, I tried, but it seems she's brop. A monstrous burp echoes through the entire restaurant, leaving everyone stunned. While licking the sauce off her fingers, the woman speaks. Sorry 'bout slurp that. My lick father taught me not to talk with my mouth full. The crowd collectively thought. I thought she was apologizing for the burp. Bonnie's the name, Jewelry Bonnie. She quickly stuffs her mouth with more food, displaying no concern for first impressions. Luffy ignores her lack of etiquette and attempts to strike up another conversation. Well, Bonnie, it's nice to meet you. Gobble chomp munch. Bonnie finishes her mouthful before responding. Listen. I don't care if you sit here. Just don't touch my food and don't talk to me while I'm eating, got it? With a polite smile, Luffy nods in agreement. Alright, good. As Bonnie leans back down to resume her meal, she feels a tap on her shoulder. Looking up, ready to deliver a punch to this idiot's face, she finds Luffy standing there. Have you ever been to an amusement park? What the hell? That question caught her completely off guard. Reiju exited the kitchen after a discussion with owner Zeph and Sanji, feeling slightly agitated. She scanned the area, searching for Luffy, but he was nowhere in sight. Haha. Are you kidding me? Ahaha. You must be joking. Luffy's laughter echoed through the room. Yeah, they even dressed up as clowns afterward, trying to scare me even more. It took me years to set foot in another circus until my grandfather forced me to my fear. She. Reiju shared her story with a mix of amusement and annoyance. As Reiju descended the stairs, she failed to notice Luffy nearby. Suddenly, he spoke up, catching her off guard. Hello, sir. Oh, snap, I didn't even realize you came down those stairs, Luffy remarked, his attention finally shifting to Reiju. Reiju's thoughts were conflicted. I'm not sure if I'm mad because he didn't notice me or because I missed out on such an incredible story. Oh, damn, she seems upset, Luffy noticed. Oh, and what did they say? Luffy asked curiously. My name is Reiju, she introduced herself. What a unique name, Reiju. Luffy turned his chair around, straddling it as he faced her. What's with the sudden ass kissing? Commented Bonnie, interjecting into the conversation. Oh, sorry, Bonnie. We need to talk about some things. If you're okay with it, you can keep eating, Luffy replied, trying to steer the discussion back on track. Okay, Bonnie responded nonchalantly, resuming her meal without missing a beat. So, Doc, give it to me straight, Luffy inquired, eager to hear the news. Reiju pulled out a different book from before and began reading from it. The owner says you can work here for the time being, but he won't pay you. However, you can stay in the workers' quarters for the next few days instead of wherever you were staying before. Additionally, you'll receive free breakfast, lunch, and dinner in exchange for not being paid. If you want anything else, you'll have to make it yourself. And if you make any mistakes, you'll handle it all on your own. Any wasted food, time, money, or resources spent on you will be reimbursed. Do you understand all of that? Wait, is that it? Luffy questioned, puzzled by the seemingly simple arrangement. Reiju, surprised by his reaction, thought it was quite a responsibility. Well, yes, I suppose. Eep. She let out a small squeal when Luffy suddenly grabbed her hand between his own. Thank you so much. This means a lot to me, and I promise not to disappoint you, Luffy expressed his gratitude enthusiastically. Reiju swiftly pulled her hand away from his grip. Okay. I understand, she responded, regaining her composure. She stormed off to attend to other customers, leaving Luffy and Bonnie at the table. Wait, how come you're getting free food? Bonnie inquired after finishing her meal. I'm expecting someone, Luffy casually explained. Damn, you get stood up once, and the entire restaurant caters to make you feel better. Maybe I should say I got stood up too. Bonnie teased Luffy. Stuffing more food ain't it at all. Luffy retorted playfully, punching her arm. The person I'm looking for will arrive in 3 days. 3 days? Bonnie choked on her food, astonished by his revelation. Why did you get here so early? Luffy's carefree expression suddenly turned serious as he fully faced Bonnie. This caught her off guard, and she focused intently on what he was about to say. I didn't have anything better to do, Luffy confessed, his tone as serious as someone divulging classified information. Suddenly, a splash of Coca-Cola soaked his face, causing Bonnie to yell at him, Don't say something as dumbass as that so seriously. But I am serious. There's nothing fun to do, and I can't do anything without a crew. Luffy slumped, banging his cola-soaked head on the table. A crew? Bonnie questioned, her curiosity piqued. Oh, didn't I tell you? I'm a pirate, Luffy stated matter-of-factly. You are? Me too, Bonnie exclaimed, pointing to herself with excitement. Are you serious? Do you want to join my crew? Luffy asked, his face lighting up. I think you should join my crew. I don't take orders from anyone else, Bonnie replied, pointing her thumbs at herself confidently. Only me. Don't you think the captain should be the strongest in the crew? Luffy made a snide remark. No surprises there. That's why I'm Captain Dipshit, Bonnie stated matter-of-factly as if it were an established fact. You wanna go, bubblegum? Luffy responded, mimicking a generic thug expression, all the while maintaining his signature grin. In retaliation, Bonnie's frustration boils over as she headbutts full body, surprising everyone present. Her words echo with determination and defiance. Do you wanna go, cuz I don't think you're ready? The sound of the impact reverberates through the air, followed by the clattering of objects on the table. However, before the tension escalates further, a third voice interrupts the commotion, commanding attention. Why don't you both go? A new voice interjects. Bonnie and Luffy glance up to see an enraged full body, his face flushed with anger and veins bulging, attempting to force a smile. To prison, that is, he growls, his threat palpable. Bonnie swiftly dismisses full body, waving him off with a flick of her hand. Piss off, shitstain. Go pretend to sound cool somewhere else. Yeah, what she said, Luffy chimes in, pointing his thumb at Bonnie, wholeheartedly supporting her. However, full body's anger erupts, and he swings his arm with force, cleaving the table in half. His dark expression transforms into one of confusion as the dishes and food remain suspended in the air. Each plate is deftly caught by Luffy, who uses his head, face, arms, and even his left leg, resembling the skilled plate spinners found in circuses. Any falling food is caught by Bonnie, who skillfully uses the tablecloth as a makeshift net. She gracefully lowers it to the ground, preserving the culinary display. Caught off guard, Full Body is simultaneously assaulted from multiple directions. Luffy delivers a powerful punch to his face. Bonnie swiftly kicks him in the groin. Reiju strikes him in the back, and an enigmatic yellow-haired man, cigarette dangling from his mouth, appears out of nowhere to land a kick to Full Body's liver. The combined assault sends Full Body flying, his body crashing back to the ground with a resounding crash. The three individuals who launched the attacks exchange curious glances, momentarily stunned by Luffy's choice of a punch amidst their synchronized kicks. Luffy, sensing their confusion, speaks up. "What? You all did kicks, and I did a punch. I didn't want to be left out." Luffy explains with a grin, though met with blank stares. He then points to the stranger. "Why are you staring at me? If anything, this blondie should be interrogated." Bonnie turns her attention to the newcomer. "Yeah, he does make a good point. Where the hell did you come from? Shouldn't you be in the kitchen, Sanji?" Reiju questions with exasperation. "Back in the break room, you seemed stressed, so I asked owner Zeph if I could help out here." "Geez, there's no need to be mean about it. I was just trying to help," Sanji retorts sharply, muttering to himself, "Shit sister. I heard that. You're lucky you're holding food right now, or else I would've." Reiju's words trail off threateningly. What the hell is going on out there? A commanding voice cuts off Reiju, and the kitchen doors swing open. "What do you siblings think you're doing?" Another booming voice follows, belonging to a large, muscular man entering the room. He possesses oversized forearms, prominent lips, and black hair fashioned into an intricate goatee. His unique attire includes a pink ascot, an earring in his right ear, and a braided hachimaki headband. "Hey there, shit cooker." "Hey Patty," the siblings greet. "Don't call me shit cooker, shit breath. And don't brush this off like it's nothing, Reiju," Patty retorts. "Our motto is, the customer is king. Because they're the lifeblood of this restaurant. So why is his blood about to be spilled? Explain yourselves," Patty demands. "Correction, Patty. Your motto is, the customer is king. Ours is, talk shit, get hit, and if you break our shit, we break your bones. Not to mention, this customer was attacking other patrons," Sanji counters sharply. Reiju adds, "And let's not forget that this customer was about to waste perfectly good food that these wonderful patrons caught." Luffy and Bonnie share a proud high five, celebrating their collective efforts. "I should have never come here," Captain Full Body moans, slumped over. "The service here is shit. Everything is shit." He glares hatefully at the siblings. "I'll shut you down. I'll inform the authorities that this restaurant." "Shut us down? Not unless I crush your skull with my foot," Sanji interrupts, his voice dripping with venom. "You won't get very far with two broken kneecaps," Reiju warns. Full Body panics, his voice wavering. What? Luffy and Bonnie, along with a few other chefs who have emerged from the kitchen, restrain Sanji and Reiju to prevent any further escalation. "Now I'm angry," Sanji and Reiju exclaim simultaneously, their frustration reaching its peak. "Come on, guys. Take a chill pill," Bonnie and Luffy interject, urging them to calm down. "I sent how many of you out here, and there's still a ruckus to be had. What the hell are you clowns doing out here?" The original commanding voice reverberates through the kitchen doors once more. Emerging from the kitchen is an elderly man with blonde hair tucked beneath an extra-long chef's hat. His mustache and beard are strikingly long, and he wears the standard chef's uniform, complete with a blue ascot and a white apron. Despite his lack of legs, he walks with ease, relying on his two peg legs. "Head chef, you have to stop Sanji and Reiju," several of the chefs urgently implored. "Huh?" The head chef shifted his gaze towards Sanji and Reiju. "You guys, attacking the clientele once again?" "Zip it, old man. I'm sorry." Both siblings had contrasting reactions. "They certainly are, and this time it's a Navy lieutenant." Patty shook his head in disappointment, swinging his arms in the air. Zeph, the owner, kicked Sanji in the chin and stomped in front of Reiju, cracking the floor. "Do you brats want to destroy me?" he yelled. "And you?" he exclaimed, kicking full body to the ground as well. "I heard it all. You get outta here too." RGH. Full body's body fell to the ground. "What? Including the chef? You barbarians have no idea how to treat a customer. Don't you know who I am? You're nothing more than a bunch of jerks playing restaurant. You're more dangerous than pirates. The customer is king, got that?" Patty scolded the two. "Only if they agree to eat your slop," Sanji retorted. "I'm not a fan of kings," Reiju added her 2 cents. "Patty, Sanji. Reiju, you're going to fight in a place where the customer can't see you," Zeph chastised them all. "They can't be anything other than brutes, Lieutenant Philelf." Lieutenant Full Body. A severely injured Marine soldier burst open the establishment's doors, leaving everyone on the edge of their seats. "This place is insane. I couldn't even hear what was going on outside because of all the noise inside," Luffy reflected on himself. A cannonball was hurled through the hull, obliterating the ship's brig and setting free that Krieg pirate. "He's already left 7 of us barely breathing," the Marine soldier screamed through short, painful breaths. Upon hearing this news, every patron became restless, if not panicked. Krieg? As in the Krieg pirates? They're the strongest pirate in the East Blue? And Full Body himself was no exception, even without being beaten to a pulp. He may have been the most agitated out of anyone. Impossible. When we found him 2 weeks ago, he was on the verge of starvation, and he hasn't had a crumb since. The most intriguing reaction, however, was Luffy's. It wasn't fear or dread that overwhelmed him. It was a sense of realization and guilt. Did I do that? As he remembered throwing the cannonball back at the Marine ship. "Please forgive me, sir. Bang, arg, eek." Whoa, he just shot him. A lanky, average-sized man with short, scruffy hair and a slight stubble entered. He wore an open gray-white jacket lined with twin red sea serpent designs, a green undershirt, gray trousers, a gray headband with blue stripes, and 2 round earrings on each ear. Customers began running to the opposite end of the restaurant, hoping to avoid the pirates' attention. But the Bharati staff, Luffy, and Bonnie were not amused by this man's actions. "Head up, chefs. We have a customer," Reiju stated flatly. "Huh? Customer? Don't you mean a stray?" Patty fired back. "He'd better not ruin my place any more than you ruffians already have." Owner Zeph also spoke up. Sanji, Luffy, and Bonnie kept their mouths shut as they watched this man's every move. Click-clack, thump. The bloodied pirate's footsteps echoed throughout the restaurant as he walked past the equally bloodied Full Body, not even acknowledging his presence before taking a heavy seat in a chair. He sat motionless. "Hello, sir. Would you like a menu before placing your order, or do you already have a dish in mind?" Reiju inquired, seemingly out of nowhere. What is she up to? She's going to get herself killed." Full Body also spoke up. "She's dead meat. Food. Bring me food," he said to Reiju. "Anything would be much appreciated." "All right, sir, I'll be whack krash." Patty grabbed the back of the pirate's head, smashing it straight through the table. "If anything would be fine. How about a big ol' serving of oak for ya, Squidface?" "What?" Full Body yelled. "Hooray!" exclaimed the rest of the restaurant. Owner Zeph, on the other hand, chastised Patty, saying, "Blast it, Patty. That's my second table for the day." Reiju and Sanji remained silent on the subject, instead glaring at Patty. This did not escape Luffy's notice. "It's bad enough that you're a stray, but a broke stray? You're not a customer. You're a rabid dog off its leash." Patty approached the injured pirate. The bloody pirate could only manage, in retaliation. "Congratulations, Patty. Patty, go, finish that S." Gurgle Grumble, one of the customers, spoke up. "Hey, chef, his stomach is growling." "What are you talking about, idiot? That was only a fart. Can you just give me some food?" At this point, the pirate was almost begging, though his pride kept him from fully groveling. Kick. The pirate's lungs were blown out by that kick. Bam FWAP. Thud and Patty continued to kick the man, both physically and verbally, while he was down. "Customers are the lifeblood of a restaurant. I wouldn't even give moldy bread to a starving sea rat like you." Full Body stood up and limped out of the restaurant, saying, "I've had enough." Crack wham! "I'm leaving this shithole," he said, and he did. He didn't even bring his date along with him. The pirate had been thoroughly beaten by this point, his body practically ground beef. Patty turned to face the audience. "Dear clients, enjoy your meals," he said as he lifted his apron like a skirt and bowed, and the crowd applauded. Oh, Patty hauled the pirate's unconscious body through the back door, unceremoniously dumping him on the ground like a bag of trash. "Please, never return," Patty declared, closing the door without a second thought. Bonnie and Luffy observed the scene unfolding from the second floor, watching the pirates writhe in pain. "Damn, that raccoon dog of a chef. If only I were in my normal state, I would have," the pirate muttered, frustration evident in his voice. Luffy turned to Bonnie, interrupting her train of thought. "Hey, are you hungry?" Bonnie shifted her gaze to Luffy and replied, "Well, obviously, Sherlock." Before she could continue, the pirate interjected, "Shut up, I ain't hungry." A sudden silence fell upon the atmosphere as Sanji made his entrance. Su-wing click clack click tea-tunk. The pirate glanced up to find Sanji placing a plate of food and a glass of water beside him before taking a seat. "Eat up," Sanji said, taking a long drag of his cigarette. "Piss off, I don't need your charity. Even in this state, I won't accept your worthless pity," the pirate snapped. Sanji remained unfazed, responding firmly, "Shut up and eat the food already. I won't leave until that plate is empty." "I'm not a customer, in case you couldn't tell, and I don't have any cash on me," the pirate retorted. Sanji paused, considering his next words carefully. "Any hungry person, regardless of who they are or where they come from, is a customer to me. I understand the fear and pain that grips your heart when sailing these cruel seas on an empty stomach. The possibility of death looms, and your hunger only grows. But if you eat and survive, don't you believe you have a future?" The pirate sat up, tears streaming down his cheeks as he picked up the plate of food and began eating, not bothering to savor the incredible taste. Munch, munch, chomp, munch, gulp, slurp. The flavor did not go unnoticed, even amidst his overwhelming gratitude. Hick, sniff. "I am not worthy. I've never, ever had something so delicious in my life. It's better than I deserve. I thought I was done for, a dead man," the pirate sobbed. Sanji smirked, his satisfaction evident. "Good, huh?" As the pirate continued eating, Sanji finally noticed Luffy and Bonnie observing the scene. "Hey, you, it's a good thing he gave you some food, huh?" Sanji called out, addressing Luffy. Luffy turned to Sanji, exclaiming, "Hey, Sanji, right? You should join my crew." "Huh? What do you mean, your crew? He's mine," Bonnie interjected angrily. "What did you say, Bonnie?" Luffy responded, his voice filled with determination. "Oh, what's so great about her? What does she have that I don't?" Luffy cried out, his frustration evident as he knelt on the ground. 2 X chromosomes, Sanji stated matter-of-factly. Bonnie, elated by Sanji's response, retorted, "Suck it up, loser." She then turned to face Sanji. "So, how about it? We'll wait until this loser meets up with his friend, and then we can all leave this place?" "Oh, my lovely maiden." Sanji's demeanor abruptly changed, surprising everyone present. "Although fleeing with such a beauty would bring me immeasurable joy, alas, I am unable to leave." Confusion filled the air as the pirate and Bonnie exchanged puzzled glances. Luffy raised his voice, determination resurfacing. "No way. I reject your rejection. You will be a part of my crew." "Damn it, loser boy, we already settled this. I'm the captain," Bonnie shouted angrily. "Excuse me?" Everyone turned to look at the pirate, intrigued by his interruption. "I apologize for intruding on your conversation, but when you say crew, do you mean?" "Of course, a pirate crew," Luffy proudly affirmed. The pirate's curiosity grew. "Then, you wouldn't happen to be after the one pinquired?" Luffy and Bonnie exchanged puzzled looks, responding, "Duh, yeah, what?" "Well, Straw Hat, I'd advise you to give up. Going down that road will only lead to death," the pirate cautioned. "No way. I won't give up on my dreams just because some jerk told me to," Luffy fired back. "I'm guessing you don't have many crewmates since you're trying to recruit this guy," the pirate observed. "Well, there's that one person I'm waiting for. We'll figure something out," Luffy replied, though his certainty wavered. Wait, you don't have any crewmates? Bonnie turned to Luffy, perplexed. I don't want to hear it, miss, I don't want the One Piece even though I'm a pirate. You don't have room to talk. Oh, well, you seemed like a nice kid, so I thought I'd warn you, the pirate said as he prepared to sail away, the others bidding him farewell. Thanks for the concern, but I won't need it. I'm pretty strong, you know, Luffy declared, slapping his bicep with a flexed arm. Heck, I'm the one who threw the cannonball that broke you out. She. What? Bonnie, Sanji, and the pirate exclaimed, taken aback. Haha, the pirate chuckled, recovering from his surprise. That cannonball looked like it had been shot. Maybe you have what it takes to make it through the Grand Line. Maybe? What do you mean by, maybe? You're looking at the guy who will surpass Roger and achieve heights he could only dream of. She, Luffy proclaimed confidently. Haha. Will you remember me if you reach that point? The pirate asked, amusement lacing his words. This irritated Luffy, and he decided to tease the pirate in return. Buddy, I don't even know your name. I'll just remember you as the guy who got beaten up by a raccoon dog. Ah, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Jin, remember it? The pirate finally revealed his name. Luffy reassured Jin, don't worry, I will. And Sanji? Luffy turned to face Sanji. Sanji, you saved my life, and I'll be eternally grateful. That was some delicious food. Jin's face brightened as he asked, can I come back and eat? Sanji grinned. Anytime. Sanji, chore boy. There you are. Zeph, the owner, walked onto the second floor, where Bonnie and Luffy had been. He surveyed the scene, noticing Jin and the empty plate and glass, piecing together what had transpired. Good luck, Jin, Sanji said as he turned to face owner Zeph. Aw shucks, you're gonna get some serious shit for giving me a free meal. I'm sorry about that, Jin apologized, fidgeting with his headband. Sanji tossed the plate and glass into the water, breaking them. Free food? I don't recall that. Do you have any proof? He said this with his hand still out, wearing a smug smile. Jin's voice choked, and tears welled up in his eyes once again. Thank you so much, Sanji. Best of luck to you, and don't get caught again, Sanji said. As they all made their way inside, Bonnie tugged on Sanji's shirt, making herself more attractive. Could you do something for me? Oh, nice to meet all of you. From now until the day after tomorrow, I'll be working as your choreboy. Please treat me well. Luffy exclaimed, bowing deeply at a 90-degree angle. Fware, clang, talk. Where's table 6 a dessert? Who took that order? You did, I'm too busy? Open your eyes. You looking for a fight? Despite Luffy's boisterous greeting, attempting to display his outgoing and hot-blooded nature, none of the chefs in the kitchen spared him a second glance. They were completely absorbed in their work. Pat Luffy turned around to see who had patted him on the shoulder. It was Zeph, the owner. Don't mind them, they're just passionate about what they do. They'll warm up to you real quick. Zeph tried to console Luffy. For now, just make yourself useful. He walked away to attend to other matters. Luffy approached a cabinet and opened it, revealing a massive array of pots, pans, and other utensils. His gaze fell upon a series of massive red leather books with gold accents on the top shelf. I knew I smelled the ink on those pages. Luffy reached up and grabbed one of the books from the top shelf. He dusted it off and flipped it over to examine the cover. Zeph's Bharati Recipe Book, Volume 1, in gold lettering. Luffy glanced at the chefs, who was skillfully preparing food with near-perfect efficiency. They probably make new chefs memorize the recipes when they join. Luffy pondered. Although judging by the dust on this book, it seems like they haven't had a new chef in a while. Luffy made his way to the lounge area with the book and began reading it at breakneck speed. Oh, where has that choreboy gone? Patty yelled. The day was nearly over, but it was rush hour for the restaurant. Known not only for their fighting chefs, unique ambiance, and amazing food but also for the renowned ensemble of musicians called Deep Blue, who performed every week. They were close friends with the owner, which was how they got the opportunity to play there. Quit picking on him, Patty, a stocky, average-sized man with tanned skin and brown hair spoke up. He wore a chef's uniform identical to the rest of the staff, except for his sunglasses. It's that attitude that caused all the waiters to abandon ship and got us all overworked in the first place. Ha! Those lily-livered fools were useless from the start, and you know it, carne, Patty retorted, returning to work on his dish. And this new guy is probably no different. After all, what did those three see in that kid? I swear if I catch him slacking even for a second, I will. Patty's eyes caught a movement in the corner, interrupting his complaint. He turned around to see Luffy. Before heading to the lounge area, Luffy returned a recipe book and grabbed another one. What are you doing? Patty yelled angrily. Unlike Luffy's introduction, this piqued the interest of all the chefs in the kitchen. Reading, why? Luffy asked innocently. You son of a bitch. Patty approached him and snatched the book from his grasp. Only those authorized by the owner may handle these books. Patty examined the book, trying to determine which one Luffy had taken. Why the hell were you grabbing the 8th volume? Patty questioned, placing the book back in its place. Because I've already read the other 7, so I need the next one, Luffy calmly replied, extending his hand for Patty to return the book. Ha, 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 okay. Do you expect me to believe you read 7 volumes of books, each with 500 to 800 pages, in the last? Patty looked up at the clock to check how much time had passed. 3 hours, yes, and I've memorized it all, Luffy stated flatly. The chefs grew increasingly irritated. Owner Zeph had made them all memorize these books by heart, even testing them on it. For some, remembering all 10 volumes had taken years. None were more frustrated than the man currently interrogating Luffy. How about a pop quiz, you little shit? Sure, Luffy agreed nonchalantly. Can you tell me the recipe on page 110 of volume 6? Patty challenged, randomly selecting a page from a random book without much thought. It's the Royal Surf and Turf spread, designed for a party of 6 to 10 people. It consists of blue elephant tuna, bullhorn salmon, armored lobster, peacock crabs, shrimp, scallions, mussels, clams, woolly chickens, scarlet red ram, and bellowing bison as the main components of the platter. Luffy recited the details without hesitation. Ha! A chuckle echoed through the kitchen. Patty quickly turned to find the source, only to see Sanji still cooking. What? Are you going to hit me? It won't change the fact that the kid is correct, Sanji stated coolly. Gr. Patty's veins began to bulge like wildflowers as he rapidly turned red. I've had it with ding ding ding. Table 17 has ordered a lobster risotto and lobster scramble eggs. Table 68 has ordered Apollo's chicken parmesan and the Hermanos meat tornado with a side of sea wings. And finally table 42 has ordered a royal surf and turf. Reiju and away to take more orders. Luffy's voice echoed through the kitchen. If no one takes the order for table 42, I'll do it. Patty snapped out of his trance. What, just because you? Sanji tapped him on the shoulder. Let the kid handle it. I think he's capable, Sanji calmly suggested to Patty. Grr, fine. But if you make a mistake, even a minor one, you will regret it. Everyone, back to work. We've got hungry stomachs out there, and they're not going to feed themselves, Sanji shouted. The entire kitchen sprang into action, fully immersed in their work. Sanji approached Luffy and looked him in the eyes. He's right, so don't mess up. He turned around and returned to his station. This signaled Luffy to start. He promptly hung up his straw hat and replaced it with a hairnet. Then, he went to the sink and meticulously washed his hands and forearms, ensuring not to miss a single spot. He swiftly moved around the kitchen, gathering all the necessary pots, pans, and ingredients, opting not to use any specialized tools. However, there was a slight issue with the scarlet red ram. Luffy pulled out a fully grown scarlet red ram carcass instead of a lamb carcass. Hey, you were supposed to get a lamb carcass, Carne pointed out. They didn't have any lamb, so I took this one instead. Huh? Carne rushed to the refrigerator to confirm Luffy's claim. Scarlet red ram, known for its tenderness and the lingering aroma of strawberries and wine, was considered a delicacy in the East Blue. However, as it matured, the flavor of the meat became stronger and more peculiar, making it incredibly challenging to handle. To make matters worse, a fully grown scarlet red ram developed a layer of fat as hard as armor. Essentially, what Luffy was carrying was the carcass of an iron golem. He can't be serious. He doesn't even have a knife to cut through an armored lobster, let alone a cleaver for an adult red ram. He's going to ruin our reputation. Luffy caught snippets of their comments and more, but he forged ahead because he possessed a secret weapon that they didn't. He placed his hands on the carcass, effortlessly disassembling and reassembling it into perfect cuts using his devil fruit power. What? The entire kitchen exclaimed, still focused on their tasks, as Luffy used his devil fruit powers not only to prepare the ingredients flawlessly but also to cook them to perfection with balls of flame. The enticing aromas created by Luffy's cooking left many chefs in awe. Holy shit. Just the smell of what he's cooking has me captivated, many of them thought. Do you guys know what chemistry is? Luffy unexpectedly asked, jolting many people out of their trance. Many people assume that it's the science of chemicals, and while they're not entirely wrong, they're also not entirely right. Chemistry is technically the study of matter, but it goes beyond that. At least, that's my opinion. Luffy picked up some seasonings and applied them to a steak. To me, chemistry is the study of change. Electrons change their energy levels, molecules alter their bonds, compounds combine and form new compounds, and so on. Luffy continued his work. And isn't that what cooking is all about? Changing ingredients from one state to another. And aren't recipes simply formulas and equations for cooking? Not to mention, when you cook something, you're constantly using math. 3/4 of this, a quarter spoonful of that. Looking at it that way, it becomes a straightforward path to success, with all the steps laid out to prevent failure. It also helps that I understand the biology of every animal product I'm preparing. Luffy finished spreading the ingredients and turned to face a particular person. How are things going, Zeph? Is my dish up to par? As they looked up to see the owner's reaction, the kitchen fell silent, still working but with an air of anticipation. Zeph approached the spread and took a small bite from each plate. No, it's perfect, he declared. His statement brought the entire kitchen to a standstill. Even Sanji became motionless. Never before had anyone heard Zeph, the owner, use the word perfect to describe a dish. But Luffy completed Zeph's sentence. But that's not a compliment. In fact, it's the opposite, Zeph concluded. By perfect, I mean it has reached its limit. There is no room for imagination, intelligence, skill, improvement, but most importantly, there is no heart or soul. You rely on mathematics, chemicals, and other technicalities to create your dish, and the truth is, it's superior to anything anyone here can make. Many chefs, who had worked tirelessly to reach their current positions, felt a deep sadness wash over them, especially Sanji. At least for now, Zeph continued. I know in my heart that eventually, one of these chefs will create a dish so much greater than what you've made because it'll be the best dish ever created, not a perfect dish. And you lost me the moment you embraced such an impossible concept as perfection. She, I knew you would say something like that. So, is this good to go? Luffy asked, dismissing the atmosphere set by the owner. Yes, it is, owner Zeph responded, opening the doors to the dining area. Let Bonnie assist you. Yeah, okay. Wait, Luffy began picking up the dishes. Bonnie? The kitchen doors swung open, revealing Bonnie dressed in the same outfit as Reiju. Did someone call me? Bonnie popped her head in after hearing Luffy's shout. Perfect timing, lass. Help him out, owner Zeph instructed, poking Luffy with his thumb. Serve the customers at table 42. And this time, don't eat their order, got it? Owner Zeph scolded Bonnie. Yeah, whatever you say, Gramps. Bonnie rolled her eyes, paying no mind to the scolding. She walked over to Luffy's dishes and picked them up. Alright, Straw Hat, let's get to it. Together, Luffy and Bonnie carried the dishes out to the tables. Bonnie leaned over to whisper in Luffy's ear. Hey, Luffy. Yeah? He responded. Who made this? She inquired, her eyes filled with amazement. It looks absolutely incredible, she whispered. Luffy flashed a smug grin. I did. Are you serious? Bonnie continued to whisper. Yup, he stated matter-of-factly. Hey, do you cook? Bonnie asked. Not really, Luffy replied. You got to be kidding me. There's no way. Bonnie was interrupted as they arrived at the table. She swiftly placed the food in front of the customers. Hello there, here's your food. Enjoy. The guests looked down at the dishes in awe. One particular lady took the first bite. Oh, my gosh, she exclaimed, covering her mouth. The others at the table eagerly began tasting the food, curious about the commotion. Wow! All the flavors are blending and melting together in my mouth, creating a whole new taste, and I can still distinguish each ingredient. This is amazing. The tenderness and texture are incredible. The combination of soft and gooey with tough and firm is perfect. What a delightful experience. It feels like I'm taking a bite out of both the ocean and the land. Everyone at the table looked up at Luffy and Bonnie simultaneously. Who made this? They all asked in unison. Luffy scratched his head, his smile a mix of smugness, shyness, and humility. It was me, he answered. One man grabbed Luffy's hands in excitement. This is incredible, he exclaimed, his eyes filled with stars. I've never tasted anything quite like this before, said a woman with amazement in her voice. They all showered Luffy with compliments, praising his dish one after another. Thank you for your kind words, and I hope you have a delightful evening, Luffy replied, taking a step back with Bonnie. Wow, Mr. Fancy Pants, look at you receiving compliments for your dish, Bonnie teased, playfully punching him on the shoulder. You have to make some for me too, got it? Okay. She, Luffy responded, his smug grin widening. Oh, excuse me, sir? An elderly woman tugged on Luffy's red vest. Could you please assist me in Mo bag isn't as strong as it used to be. Luffy turned around, his signature grin on his face. Oh, certainly, ma'am, he politely responded. Deep Blue was ready to play, and as customary, many tables and chairs were being moved to storage rooms to make space for the dancing patrons. Luffy joined in with enthusiasm, effortlessly hauling the table to the back, making sure not to disturb the candles and table covers. As he made his way back, Luffy noticed two chefs and Patty carrying bags filled with the remains of the table that Full Body had destroyed earlier. Hey, Luffy called out to the group of chefs. Huh? Oh, sure boy, what do you want? One of the chefs inquired. Luffy gestured towards the bags they were carrying. I can fix that table if you want. Are you serious? The other chef asked, surprised. Yeah, Luffy replied confidently. Just take them out of the bags. The two chefs looked at each other, unsure of what to expect, but decided to follow Luffy's lead. They emptied their bags, revealing the broken wood pieces. Luffy knelt down and extended his hand towards the pile of splinters. A wave of purple crystals erupted from his hand, enveloping the wood and transforming it. The pile of broken pieces morphed into a new table, gleaming in its fresh form. Whoa, one of the chefs exclaimed, amazed by Luffy's power. The wave of crystals dissipated, leaving behind a brand new table, complete and unblemished. So, Patty ran his hand over the table, inspecting it with curiosity. Are you an outlier? He inquired. Huh? Luffy wasn't expecting that question from Patty. Oh, yeah? I consumed the pyro fruit. I can disassemble and reassemble anything I touch, as well as control and create heat in various forms, Luffy proudly stated. Patty nodded, comparing Luffy's abilities to someone he knew. So you're just like Reiju then? Luffy blinked in surprise. Oh, that's cool to hear, he responded, momentarily taken aback. Wait, what? Before they could dwell on the topic further, all the lights in the restaurant suddenly went out, plunging them into darkness. Looks like the show's starting. We can put the table away, one of the chefs suggested. Are you sure? Luffy asked, wanting to make sure he didn't interrupt anything important. Of course, we can. Besides, it's your first time seeing this, right? Don't miss out on the excitement. The three of them carried the table to the back, their steps confident and determined. Patty turned his head back to address Luffy. Hey, sorry for snapping at you earlier. These days have been long since those sissies jumped ship. For what it's worth, I wouldn't mind having you around for a little longer. With that, Patty turned back and continued helping carry the table away. Luffy grinned contentedly when he heard Patty's words, grateful for the unexpected show of camaraderie. Oh, the night was alive with energy, surpassing any expectations. The dance floor buzzed with people twirling and swaying to the music, whether with their partners, acquaintances, or even daringly with strangers they had just mustered the courage to ask. Even Bonnie, back in her regular attire, and a few of the chefs, couldn't resist the infectious atmosphere and joined in the revelry. Yet, amidst the crowd, there were those who remained seated, observing the vibrant spectacle. Some were satiated, content with their evening, while others simply preferred to watch rather than partake. However, one woman captivated Luffy's attention. Approaching her table, Luffy pulled out a chair and greeted her with a warm smile. "Hey there." "Oh, hello, mister." The woman responded politely. "Just call me Luffy," he replied. "Luffy, please allow me to introduce myself properly. My name is Moody." Indeed, the woman who had caught Luffy's eye was the same one who had arrived with full body as his date, only to be abandoned when he faced public humiliation. "If you don't mind me asking, why did you choose to sit with me out of everyone else?" Moody inquired, curiosity in her voice. Luffy took a moment to consider his answer before responding. "You seemed down, I guess. That's the right word, right?" Moody chuckled softly. "I suppose I am feeling a bit down after today's fiasco. I thought Full Body was a decent guy, but he turned out to be far from it." She grimaced, recalling the unfortunate events. "Sanji offered to cover everything and even threw in a free meal to cheer me up, though I can't help but wonder if it was just an attempt to salvage the situation." Luffy felt a slight unease as the mood shifted unexpectedly, but then a mischievous idea struck him. "Hey, wait here for a minute," Luffy exclaimed as he rose from his seat and headed towards Deep Blue, the band that had just finished playing. After a brief exchange of words, they nodded in agreement. Luffy swiftly returned to Moody's side and eagerly pulled her onto the dance floor. "Wah, Luffy!" Moody exclaimed in surprise. "Just go with it," Luffy grinned mischievously. As the music began, Luffy started snapping his fingers and tapping his foot, setting the rhythm. Moody abandoned her attempt to make sense of the situation and surrendered to the beat, moving her body with newfound confidence. Their synchronized movements attracted the attention of everyone in the dining hall. Moody had never danced like this before, but in that moment, she moved like a seasoned dancer. "How am I doing?" she asked, catching Luffy's attention. "As I said," Luffy called out, "just go with the flow." He grabbed her hand, kicked his foot into the air, and spun around, eliciting enthusiastic reactions from the audience. They continued to dance, and Moody surrendered herself completely. "Ah, to hell with it," she thought with a wide smile, "I'm just going to have fun." Luffy knelt down, placing his hands on her hips, causing the crowd to erupt even more. "Woo! Yes!" Luffy and Moody glided across the dance floor as if defying gravity, swinging and spinning with remarkable agility. "Trust me," Luffy shouted over the music. "Okay," Moody replied without hesitation. As the song reached its climax, Luffy seized Moody's hand and pulled her towards him, spinning her above him before skillfully catching her. "Woo! Yeah!" A crowd gathered around the duo, showering them with compliments and invitations to dance. Nearly all the men approached Moody, while many women couldn't resist inviting Luffy to dance. Oh, the night raged on, with Luffy leading the charge. It was a night unlike any in the long history of Baratie. The bustling establishment had never witnessed such exuberance, as people didn't merely dance but indulged in a joyous celebration as if tomorrow would never come. Eventually, the Baratie's doors closed, and the exhausted staff retired to their dorms, finally finding rest. The following day passed by in a whirlwind of success. The customers were served their meals promptly, and the food tasted even more delicious than before. Perhaps it was the intense competition in the kitchen that ensued after Luffy's impressive dish. Luffy quickly gained the respect of all the Baratie staff. He proved to be a diligent worker, picking up skills swiftly, and effortlessly establishing rapport with the customers. On the other hand, Bonnie handled unruly troublemakers, showing that she could hold her own in a fight. Despite their newfound culinary talents, Luffy and Bonnie persistently pestered Sanji, urging him to join their crew. Meanwhile, Reiju's initial admiration for Luffy gradually grew, warming up to him rather quickly. And as for Bonnie, she finally got the chance to taste Luffy's cooking for the first time. Oh, restlessness consumed Luffy as the third day arrived. Each passing minute intensified his anticipation for Nami's arrival and the crucial discussion about whether she would join their crew. A swift kick to his leg jolted Luffy out of his reverie. "Hey, Quarry boy, relax." Luffy's stern owner, Zeph, snapped him back to reality. "Today might be your last day here, but that's no." Zeph glanced at the dish in Luffy's hands. I'm pleased to see improvement from perfect to better. A smug smile crossed his face. Now, take that dish to table 8. He strolled away to inspect the other chef's creations. Luffy emerged with the dish in hand, but a familiar scent captivated his senses. No way. Ignoring the dish he held, Luffy instinctively followed the tantalizing aroma, eventually spotting a head of vibrant orange hair peeking out from behind a newspaper. Coincidentally, the table was none other than table number 8. Here's your tangerine garlic chicken, Nami. Luffy beamed as he placed the plate before her. Okay, thank you. Absorbed in her reading, Nami absent-mindedly flipped a page of the newspaper. Suddenly, she registered the words spoken by the person serving her. She lowered the paper and locked eyes with the same boy who had valiantly battled Circus Master Kabaji and Moji the Beast Tamer. The boy she had been waiting for. Luffy? Luffy? Nami exclaimed loudly, drawing the attention of everyone in the establishment. Luffy, who was now sitting at a table with a big, dopey grin on his face, replied, "Yeah, that's my name, she. Nami was taken aback and struggled to form a coherent sentence. Why? She blurted out. Luffy's grin widened even further, amused by Nami's reaction. Well, when you told me we'd meet up in 4 days, I thought I had nothing better to do, so I decided to get a head start. I even got myself a part-time job for the past 3 days, room and board included. Not a bad deal, huh? Nami was still trying to process this information. I don't even know where to begin with that, she said with a deep exhale. It's a crazy thing to say, let alone do, but it seems so on brand for you in the short time I've known you. Luffy laughed heartily. She. You better get used to it if you want to be my navigator. Suddenly, a rough yet feminine voice interrupted. Oi. Stop slacking and distracting customers from their meals, and get some work done, you bum. Nami turned to see a curvaceous woman approaching them. She was dressed in the same custom uniform that Reiju always wore, but she also wore strange high-heeled boots and stockings that went entirely against the uniform. And if that wasn't enough, she had an anti-eyebrow and a green farerka with a nasty grimace on her face. You're just as bad as I am, Bonnie, don't try to lecture me, Luffy retorted. Bonnie, the woman with the anti-eyebrow, scolded Luffy. Didn't your father ever teach you to respect your superiors? Luffy fired back, didn't your mother teach you how to listen? For the millionth time, you're not the captain, I am the captain? Nami interjected herself between the bickering pair. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what is happening now? Luffy turned to Nami with a smile. This is our new crewmate, though we may need to bring her to a mental institute before she joins, he said matter-of-factly. Bonnie pointed at Nami and asked, before I rip you a new one, who's she? Luffy answered, oh, she's the friend I've been talking about. The one I'm supposed to meet after these past 3 days. Bonnie seemed surprised. Oh shit, for real? Luffy nodded. Yeah, she wanted to talk about her position on the crew or whether or not she'd even join at all. But if you ask me, the answer seems pretty obvious. Suddenly, 2 voices came from different sides of the restaurant. Hey, why aren't you guys waiting tables? Now what's so important it takes priority over your jobs? Oh no. Luffy and Bonnie muttered regretfully. Nami needed clarification. Wait, what's happening now? Nami? Naammi Swan? The 2 siblings, Sanji and Reiju, exclaimed as they approached the table. Sanji kneeled, holding his hand high towards Nami, and began gushing over her like a teenager's first crush. Oh, these wretched seas have kept me from basking in your radiancy for far too long. Yet the stars have aligned once more, and Lady Fate is on my side. To see your beauty after all this time fills me with a sense of purpose and drive to continue Abiwibwi. Sanji's long-winded monologue was cut off short by a kick to the face, courtesy of his sister, Reiju. With an irritated glare, Reiju spoke up. Must you always bombard this poor woman with your poorly stitched together displays of love every time you see her? Nami quickly intervened. It's fine, Ray, I don't mind it. Sanji sat up, facing Reiju, with closed eyes and clenched fists. Someone like you could never understand the torrent of passion I feel towards the fairer SX, he said, turning to Nami and grasping her hand with a heart in his eyes. Especially to those whom even Aphrodite herself would consider her equals. Reiju firmly seized Sanji's collar, her intense hostility unmistakably evident as she demanded, "What exactly do you mean by that?" Nami tried to defuse the situation. "See, come on, Reiju, I'm sure Sanji didn't mean to insult your looks." Both Luffy and Bonnie looked puzzled, as did Nami. Sanji then appeared to have an epiphany. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it when I said, someone like you. I wasn't thinking about what I was saying," he said, looking incredibly guilty. Nami, Luffy, and Bonnie looked even more confused. Reiju, on the other hand, was utterly baffled. "What the hell are you even talking about?" Wasn't that what made you mad?" Sanji asked. Reiju responded by delivering an uppercut that sent Sanji flying and crashing back down with a loud thud. Sanji. Everyone expects Reiju to be called out. As everyone tended to Sanji, Reiju crossed her arms and scoffed at him. "Himp." But as she snuck a few glances at Luffy, her face began to flush deep red. "Just because I don't show off my girly side doesn't mean I don't understand what you're talking about, Sanji," she thought to herself while playing with her hair. After the chaotic attempt to defuse the situation, everyone finally settled at the table, momentarily forgetting their duties. Luffy, always eager to break the ice, spoke up. "So, Ray, huh? You two must have known each other for a while to have such a nickname." Captain Obvious strikes again. "Did you figure that out all by yourself?" Bonnie's sarcasm dripped from her words. "I was just trying to lighten the mood." "Geez," Luffy responded, feeling a bit defensive. "Alright, enough of that," Nami interjected, massaging her forehead to ease the tension. "Didn't I mention before that I'm a regular here?" Luffy paused, recalling their previous conversation. "Oh yeah, you did mention that." Nami nodded. "Yes, I started coming here a couple of years ago when an old acquaintance brought me here for the first time." Luffy glanced around the table, noticing the uneasy expressions on Sanji's and Reiju's faces when Nami hesitated to call this person a friend. Sensing the tension, Nami quickly clarified, "We parted ways, in case you were wondering. So you won't be meeting this mystery person." Luffy nodded, gesturing for Nami to continue. Anyway, Nami continued, a satisfied smile on her face. "I kept coming back for the delicious food and the great company." "Alright, now that we've covered that, let's talk about your position on the crew," Luffy prompted. "Sure, great, now let's—" Suddenly, Sanji stood up, slamming his hands against the table. "What? No, not great. This is not great at all." Luffy raised an eyebrow, trying to interject. Excuse me?" Sanji stood tall, his chest out and fist clenched. "Must yet another beauty slip from my grasp? Forever cursed with the knowledge that such a lure exists in the world, only to be torn away from me?" Luffy couldn't help but interrupt with a mischievous grin. "Well, if it's such a big deal to you, you can always join too, you know. She. Really?" All four people sitting at the table exclaimed in disbelief, their jaws dropping for different reasons. Nami was the first to speak up, her voice filled with astonishment. "That easily?" Bonnie followed suit, shouting, "Hey, stop deciding things like you're the captain." Reiju didn't say anything, but inside, she was jumping for joy. "Does this mean I could be a part of the crew if I wanted to?" Among them, Sanji appeared to be the most ecstatic. "You mean it?" he exclaimed, grabbing Luffy's hand. She. Yeah. What kind of crew would I have without a great cook? Besides, you practically said it yourself. You want to see all the pretty gals the world has to offer, right? So why not explore the world and judge for yourself?" She. Luffy chuckled. "Oh-yeah." Sanji leapt into the air out of pure joy. "Oh, see? How grateful am I for this glorious day. Thank you for uniting me with true brother in arms. I would have become a pirate for Nami's sake alone. You needn't offer me a cause that aligns with my heart." Sanji's face then became melancholic, still filled with passion. "What a tragedy it is, the obstacles that lie between us." "Obstacles, huh?" Zeph mused. His ahia. A collective gasp escaped the lips of the workers as their eyes widened in surprise. In perfect synchronization, they turned to find the unwavering gaze of their head chef, Zeph. A tense silence filled the air before Zeph broke it with a calm yet poignant statement. "Go on then," he said, his voice carrying a mixture of resignation and encouragement. "Follow your heart. pursue the life of a pirate. I don't need ya here anymore. That goes to you to Reiju." The room erupted in a chorus of shocked exclamations. Each person present was taken aback by Zeph's unexpected proclamation. Sanji and Reiju, in particular, found themselves at a loss for words, their expressions a mix of disbelief and betrayal. Reiju took a deep breath, her voice filled with a mix of concern and frustration. "Head Chef Zeph, please understand that my words come from a place of deep respect for you, but I must ask, are you completely out of your mind?" Sanji, his voice defiant and rebellious, twisted his sister's sentiment. "Head Chef Zeph, let me make it abundantly clear that I have no respect for you when I say this. As the assistant chef here, what do you mean by saying I'm not needed?" Zeph, the head chef, maintained his composed demeanor as he responded, "I mean precisely what I said. You start fights with the customers, waste valuable hours flirting with women, and as for you," he shifted his attention to Reiju, "even on your best days, I receive numerous complaints stating that you're too intimidating, or constantly judgmental. With Sanji, at least I can discipline him, but with you, all I can do is tell you to be nicer. The both of you are subpar workers," Zeph continued, now addressing both siblings. "The combined property damage you've caused surpasses that of the troublemakers you drive away, and you decide to stop working whenever you feel like it." Before they could interject, Zeph cut them off, dismissing their excuses. "Don't try to sell me that bullshit. I just saw the both of you slacking off, hitting each other, the table, and bothering the patrons, all while on duty. Accept it, you're both deadweight. Go follow your pirate dreams and get the hell out of my establishment." Fueled by indignation, they both grabbed Zeph's collar, their voices united. "Don't you dare cross that line, old man," they exclaimed. "You can insult me, but never insult my brother's sister's work. We're staying right here, and you have no say in the matter." Zeph, his eyes filled with a fiery determination, warned them with a stern glare. "Don't lay your hands on me, you underdone eggplants." In a swift motion, he kicked Sanji, sending him crashing into an empty table, and his gaze intensified, daring Reiju to release her grip. Sanji quickly regained his footing, with Reiju lending him a helping hand. With a dismissive snort, head chef Zeph scoffed at the two siblings. Sanji's voice rang out, a mixture of frustration and defiance. "You can't kick us out. We'll stay here forever, until the day you die." Zeph turned his back on them, wordlessly making his way back to the kitchen. Without facing them, he delivered a final retort. "The day I die is the day the seas run dry," he declared, his voice filled with unwavering resolve. Sanji, now standing on his own, couldn't resist adding a final remark. "Always have to have the last word, you old geezer?" Luffy shifted uncomfortably, his gaze wandering around. "So, family, huh?" Nami shot him a disapproving frown. "Really?" Luffy mumbled to himself guiltily, just trying to break the ice. "I apologize for his behavior," Reiju said, her gaze fixed on the trio still seated. "As I'm sure you're aware, he always finds something to complain about, but he's never been this insufferable." Bonnie offered reassurance to Reiju. "Nah, it's all good. My old man taught me that it's better to address everything openly rather than letting it simmer beneath the surface." "Please forgive me, my princesses," Sanji chimed in, entering the room with 2 glasses brimming with various fruits. "A fruit macédoine to ease your troubles, and a Grand Mariner as a digestive." "Ooh, this looks delightful," Nami exclaimed, with Bonnie nodding in agreement. "And what about me, Sanji?" Luffy inquired. Sanji paused momentarily, then walked away briefly before returning with a glass of water. "A refreshing glass for the gentleman," he uttered in a monotone voice. "Well, it's better than nothing," Luffy muttered in defeat. Luffy suddenly stood up from the table. "What the?" "I'm not getting you anything else," Sanji declared firmly. Luffy responded, his tone serious. No, something massive is heading straight towards us." Bonnie inquired, confused, "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, a colossal wave violently shook the entire Bharati. Nami's expression turned anxious as she exclaimed, "That wasn't a natural swell." Her words put everyone on high alert. With urgency, everyone rushed outside to catch a glimpse of what had caused the sudden surge. However, all they could make out was a vague silhouette on the distant horizon. "No way. Is that a ship?" Nami asked aloud, her voice tinged with disbelief. Luffy confirmed, yeah, it is. And it's not just any ship. It's a massive galleon belonging to pirates. And I don't think they're coming for a friendly visit. As Luffy spoke, panic gripped the entire restaurant, particularly the civilian patrons. Why? Why here? Of all the days, I don't want to die. Amidst the chaotic cacophony, a stern and composed voice cut through the commotion. Panicking won't get you anywhere, the head chef's voice resonated with authority. All eyes turned to see the head chef, accompanied by the rest of the kitchen staff, addressing the crowd. First and foremost, for those who still have meals on their plates, the chefs will help pack them to go. Second, we will calmly and orderly make our way to the vessels. No pushing, no shoving, but let's move quickly. To those who haven't paid, consider your meals free of charge. Now, let's get to it. With those words, the staff and customers swiftly mobilized with a clear sense of purpose and understanding. While there were a few hiccups with panicked patrons, the situation gradually resolved itself. However, one issue remained. As the dock of the Bharati emptied, there was a dessert-themed boat that had yet to leave the harbor. Its contents were hastily thrown into the back rooms of the Bharati. "Bonnie, what are you doing?" Reiju demanded, with Nami, Luffy, and Sanji standing beside her. Bonnie retorted. "Can't you see, bird brain? I'm saving my life savings." She opened one of the 3 massive bags she had single-handedly hauled during the chaos, revealing a hoard of valuable gold, jewelry, and other priceless possessions. Nami's eyes gleamed at the sight of the precious gems in the bag. "I don't mind sharing. You're decent folks," Bonnie quickly muttered the last part. "But if you want a piece of it, I've got 8 more bags. Help me get out of harm's way." With that, Nami disappeared, making her way toward Bonnie's boat without even knowing what it looked like, although a ship made to resemble a cake wouldn't be too difficult to spot. The others swiftly followed suit, not enticed by the money but determined to assist their friend. But amidst the chaos, one thought nagged at Luffy. How could Nami figure out what that was without a telescope? Oh, all the citizens had been successfully evacuated, and now the moment had arrived. The galleon finally revealed itself to all, displaying its authentic glory, or rather, lack thereof. "It's undoubtedly Krieg's flagship," remarked head chef Zeph, "although, with its current state, I could hardly recognize it." A colossal husk of a galleon stood before them, its sheer size easily surpassing that of the Bharati by 3-fold. Its affiliation was only discernible by the tattered Jolly Rogers that fluttered upon a rickety mast, threatening to snap at any moment. The figurehead, a saber-toothed tiger, bore the brunt of the damage. Its left side completely gouged galleon now existed as nothing more than a haunting ghost ship, its ability to sail defying all logic. Reiju's voice rang out with conviction as she proclaimed, "A galleon of that magnitude, ravaged to such an extent. It couldn't possibly be the work of mere mortals." Sanji nodded, his brows furrowing in agreement. "My best guess is that it was a monstrous typhoon, one beyond our wildest imagination." The echoing sound of heavy metal footsteps grew louder, reverberating through the corridors and drawing closer to the main entrance of the Bharati. Tick-clang. 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 Suddenly, the doors swung open with extraordinary force, crashing against the walls and shattering the hinges. "What in the world?" Patty exclaimed, voicing the confusion that gripped everyone present. Before them stood Don Krieg, the fearsome pirate captain, encased in a suit of armor far too massive for any ordinary man to wear. His arm was wrapped around Jin, relying on him even to remain upright. A wave of terror washed over Luffy as he comprehended the imminent danger this man posed to their lives, even in his deteriorating state. That armor," he stammered, his voice trembling with fear. Krieg's armor was a fusion of technological marvel and ancient elegance, an awe-inspiring testament to a bygone era. Its intricate design captivated even the most knowledgeable minds. From head to toe, resplendent plates of gold and silver adorned the armor, exuding an air of regal allure. Ebony black segments, strategically placed, revealed glimpses of the advanced machinery concealed within. Royal purple, blue, and white garments gracefully cascaded along the armor's contours, accentuating its majestic presence. A billowing cape, reaching mighty lengths, graced the back, its collar towering above the helmet. Intricate engravings depicting majestic griffins adorned the armor, each detail adding a touch of grandeur. The gauntleted hands extended with elongated fingernails and 3 formidable claws on the back of each palm. Powerful forearms held exposed cannons, adorned with an eagle-like motif and the majesty of a lion's mane. The shoulder pads mirrored indomitable wings, symbolizing unwavering protection. A voluminous mane of white fur encircled the helmet, emphasizing its commanding presence. The neck was a symphony of countless interwoven cables and wires, forming an intricate network of power. The headpiece, a barbet, displayed a lower jaw in striking blue hues, embellished with 4 fearsome blue tusks and 2 larger yellow tusks. Dark and piercing eyes featured red irises set against a backdrop of blue sclera. Completing this awe-inspiring ensemble, a white mitre hat adorned with intricate golden motifs sat atop the head. Delicate wing-like adornments in gold and white extended from the brow, embracing a vibrant, radiant red orb, symbolizing the fiery determination and unparalleled strength within. Krieg removed the helmet, revealing the stark contrast between the might of his armor and the emaciated form beneath. "Please, may I have some food and water?" Huff, huff, "I have money. Lots of money." Carne, at a loss for words after witnessing Krieg's true face, muttered, "What? That can't be him. He looks way too shabby for a so-called king," Patty said, voicing the disbelief shared by all. As the chaos unfolded in the Bharati, Don Krieg lay collapsed on the floor, his body exhausted and weak. Jin desperately pleaded with everyone present, his voice filled with desperation. "Food, water, anything, please. The Don is on the verge of death. If you don't help him, he's doomed." Patty, seizing the opportunity to mock Krieg, sneered, "Ah, Don Krieg. Is it? How disappointing. The only thing royal about this guy is how underwhelming he is." Jin fired back, his voice filled with determination. "Raccoon dog. This time, I have money, we're paying customers." One of the staff members, alarmed by the situation, suggested alerting the Navy. Somebody alert the Navy. They wouldn't miss an opportunity to catch this fiend. No one should feed them a crumb. Just apprehend them. The staff believed that starving Krieg was the appropriate punishment. They knew all too well that if he regained his strength, he would unleash havoc upon the Bharati, showing no mercy. Krieg was a pirate and a ruthless killer. Starving seemed like an easy way out for him, considering the crimes he had committed. Krieg, now groveling on the floor, pleaded once more, his voice filled with desperation. "I won't harm anyone. Feed me, and I'll leave quietly. I beg you, please help me." Jin, trying to pull Krieg out of his current position, shouted, "Don Krieg, don't grovel. This isn't you, it's beneath you. Please, I beg you." Krieg ignored his subordinate's pleas. "Leftover rice. Anything, anything." "Don Krieg," Jin cried out, tears streaming down his face, his heart breaking for his leader. However, Patty remained unimpressed by the display of emotion. HMPH. Trying for sympathy. How pathetic. That well dried up long ago. Before Patty could finish his sentence, Reiju intervened. She kicked Patty away, her rage evident to all, creating space for Sanji to step forward. Patty's body collided with the wall before slumping to the floor, unconscious. "Here, Jin," Sanji offered, his voice filled with compassion. He presented a large bowl filled to the brim with fragrant fried rice and a tall glass of water. "He can eat this." The room fell silent as the staff members watched, unsure of what to make of this act of kindness. Sanji's gesture stood in stark contrast to the hostility that had been present moments ago. "Thank you." Don Krieg hunched over the bowl, scooping rice out of the bowl with his armored hands. "Sanji," Carne yelled. "What the hell are you doing? Don't you know who he is? He's foul play Krieg, tyrant of the Eat Blue. He started in prison, then lied his way onto a Navy ship. He then killed all the officers and took over. That's how he got his start as a pirate. He'll fly flags of any color to get what he wants, raising Navy and other official flags to attack ports and harbors. He even flies a white flag to trick his enemies and kill them in cold blood. He'll stoop to any low to win. That's the kind of man Krieg is. I get that your pride as a chef won't allow an empty stomach, but maybe this is just one mouth that doesn't need to be. You don't know what you're talking about, Carne. Shut hell up." "Eep." Reiju cut off Carne, her arms and legs cross as she lies against the wall. Her eyes burned through him. "Thank you." Don Krieg exclaimed, hunching over the bowl and scooping rice with his armored hands. Sanji, Carne yelled in disbelief. Do you have any idea who he is? He's foul play Krieg, the tyrant of the East Blue. He began his journey in prison, lied his way onto a navy ship, killed all the officers, and took control. That's how he became a pirate. He's willing to hoist flags of any color to achieve his goals, even raising navy and other official flags to attack ports and harbors. He's cunning enough to wave a white flag as a trick, luring his enemies into a false sense of security before mercilessly killing them. Krieg will stoop to any load to secure victory. I get that your pride as a chef won't allow an empty stomach, but maybe this is just one mouth that doesn't need to be. You don't know what you're talking about, Carne. Shut the hell up. Reiju interjected fiercely. Her arms and legs crossed. Her eyes now burned into him, her expression intense. Eep. Carne stumbled back, silenced by the force of Reiju's response. FWA Klong Ting. The resounding clash of metal reverberated throughout the Bharati, shaking its very foundations. All eyes were fixed upon the scene unfolding before them. Krieg forcefully driving his arm into Luffy, while Sanji lay sprawled on the ground, his composure shaken. Luffy, his instincts kicking in, had swiftly raised his arms to guard Sanji against Krieg's onslaught. Phew, that was a close one, he uttered, his determination undeterred. He lowered his guarding Krieg, reeling backward with a resounding clash of metal once more. However, amidst the chaos, Jin found the courage to confront his captain. Krieg, this wasn't part of our agreement. You promised not to harm anyone here. That man saved our lives. His voice trembled with a mixture of fear and desperation, pleading for a reason. A bone-chilling crack echoed through the air as Krieg tightened his grip, enclosing Jin's entire head within the cold confines of his mechanical armor. Jin's agonized scream pierced through the atmosphere, further heightening the tension that enveloped the Bharati. Luffy's voice rang out, filled with concern. Jin. Sanji, observing the situation with an astute gaze, couldn't help but chuckle. So, this is how it is, he muttered to himself. With a dull thud, Krieg unceremoniously dropped Jin to the ground, resembling nothing more than a discarded sack of potatoes. Standing tall and imposing, he loomed over everyone present, a formidable figure. His gaze swept across the establishment, his intentions clear. Nice restaurant, Krieg declared. Retrieving the helm of his armor, he secured it upon his head. The eyes of the helm glowed ominously in shades of blue and red. I'll be taking it, he declared, his voice now altered to an unsettling robotic timbre. Unbelievable, Carne muttered under his breath, his frustration evident. What could he possibly want with our ship? A groan escaped Carne's lips as he rubbed his aching head. What's all the commotion about? It wasn't supposed to turn out like this, Krieg, Jin groaned, his voice filled with regret. Jin, are you okay? Luffy shouted, concern etched on his face. My ship is in ruins, Krieg declared in his mechanical voice, redirecting everyone's attention toward him. I will be taking yours as compensation, with a little extra interest. I have about 100 men left, barely clinging to life. They're dying as we speak, succumbing to their wounds, hunger, or thirst. They'll need all the provisions and supplies they can get, and it is you who shall prepare them. Fury surged through Carne, his voice filled with defiance. You think we'll willingly hand over rations meant for 100 men just so you can take control? You're one deluded bastard? Refusal is not an option, Krieg retorted, his tone laced with bloodlust. You can comply and live for now, or perish so I can set an example for the rest of you rebellious sea chefs. Jin groaned again, racked with pain. I'm sorry, Sanji. I never intended for any of this to happen. Damn it, Sanji, Patty shouted. Your so-called chivalrous soul got us into this mess, and it certainly won't impress the ladies this time. Sanji turned away calmly, his expression resolute. Where do you think you're going, wise guy? Patty called out, his voice laced with anger. Sanji turned calmly to face Patty. To the kitchen, naturally, he replied matter-of-factly. Those 100 dishes won't prepare themselves. A resounding WHAAT reverberated throughout the entirety of the Bharati, causing heads to turn and eyes to widen. Hey, looks like one of you still has some brains, Krieg chuckled, a hint of amusement in his voice. The employees of the Bharati, excluding the main five and owner Zeph, quickly surrounded Sanji, their expressions turning hostile. They brandished an array of weapons, knives, swords, bats, and guns, and aimed them directly at him. "What the hell is going on in that head of yours, Sanji? Are you one of Krieg's dogs? Sorry, kid, but we can't let you into that kitchen. We can't go along with this. It's an outrage. If you want to stop me, be my guest," Sanji said calmly, his voice cutting through the tension. He turned the hostility towards him into confusion and apprehension. "Do you think I'm dumb enough not to know what we're dealing with? They may be irredeemable villains, but I'm also a chef. And chefs don't judge whether someone is worthy to eat their food, we just serve." Sanji held his head high, looking everyone in the eye. "If a man is hungry, I will feed him. That is the kind of man I am." Before anyone could respond, Patty swung his arms, delivering a powerful blow that sent Sanji sprawling to the ground. "Patty!" someone exclaimed, shocked by the sudden act of violence. "Hold him down, guys," Patty commanded, his voice unwavering. Without hesitation, several chefs' dogs piled on top of Sanji, rendering him immobile. "Look, Sanji, I know you've been feeding the people I chase off," Patty explained, his voice a mix of frustration and understanding. "I can understand where you're coming from, and at certain points, it's hard to argue against your logic. But not this time. What you're doing is completely irrational. Stay still while I protect our home and livelihood." Patty's gaze hardened as he surveyed the room, his eyes finally settling on what appeared to be a lobster cannon embedded in the wall. "Sure, he may be Don Krieg, but he's just a man. If we band together, there's no way he'd be able to do anything about it," Patty declared, determination resonating in his voice. He dusted off the barrel of the cannon. "This is the Bharati. We deal with rowdy customers and pirates alike. And unlike those sissies, we know the proper customer service to drive pests like these off." Patty cocked and aimed his weapon directly at Krieg. "Since you've already eaten, here's a hearty dose of the desert." He pulled the trigger, the meatball of doom. A thunderous explosion erupted from the cannon, shrouding the room in a thick cloud of smoke. The shocked onlookers anxiously waited for the smoke to clear, unsure of the outcome. "Don Krieg," Jin's voice pierced through the haze. As the smoke slowly dissipated, a sense of terror and panic replaced the confidence and assuredness that had filled the crowd moments before. The smoke revealed an unexpected sight. From the outstretched forearm of Krieg's armor, a rectangular shield materialized, composed of ethereal blue hexagonal light. Akin to a heartbeat, it pulsated with vibrant red energy which radiated from the shield's core, spreading outwards. "What kind of armor is that?" Carne shrieked, fear coursing through his veins. Undeterred, Patty rallied the chefs, his voice filled with determination. "We still have a shot, storm him." But before they could act, a sudden interruption occurred. Reiju's panicked voice cut through the chaos. "No, don't." Krieg smirked arrogantly, his body flashing with red lights. In an instant, a barrage of red lasers shot out from his arms, chest, and head, with lethal intent. However, just in the nick of time, a massive stretchy sheet extended to shield the staff, protecting them from the impending danger. "What the?" Krieg exclaimed, caught off guard by the unexpected turn of events. To everyone's astonishment, it was Luffy who had stretched himself out, using his devil fruit power to absorb the lasers and shield everyone from harm. "Who are you? To impede my will?" Krieg seethed with rage, his frustration evident. Luffy grinned confidently. "You're looking at the guy who'll surpass Roger," he declared, his determination shining through. Krieg's rage reached its boiling point. "You little." At that moment, owner Zeph stepped forward, placing a large bag filled with food and other rations in front of Krieg. "Food fit for 100 men, and a little extra for those blessed with insatiable appetites, owner," Zeph announced, his voice carrying both authority and compassion. "Take it to your men." "Owner Zeph," one of the chefs called out, unable to contain his curiosity. "Zeph? Zeph? Did you just say, Zeph?" Krieg's eyes widened, his voice tinged with disbelief. "Owner Zeph, what are you doing?" questioned another chef, their face reflecting a mixture of concern and intrigue. One of the chef's voices quivered with a mixture of confusion and anger as he retorted, "If you feed them, they'll merely seize the opportunity to overpower you in return for your generosity." "You're not entirely wrong. Owner Zeph calmly replied, a CE in his eyes. His words bewildered the entire Bharati, yet they incited an unmistakable fury within Krieg. However, that assumption holds only if they weren't spineless mongrels. You ventured into the treacherous Grand Line, and from what I've gathered, from the news to the sight before me, it seems it didn't take much time for you to retreat. Whoa, did he just call Krieg a coward? What? Are you saying that the tyrant of the East Blue, commanding a fleet of 50 ships, couldn't handle it? A profound sense of shame overcame Jin, his expression mirroring his regretful acknowledgement, while Zeph's cutting comment and the subsequent reactions further infuriated Krieg. An unmistakable astonishment lingered in his eyes. Your red leg, Zeph, Krieg finally uttered, his voice filled with a mix of astonishment and realization. They say you'd perished all those years ago, and I thought the same. What difference does my past make? I'm a cook now and I'll always be a cook, Owner Zeph declared. Hey, the way you put it almost makes it sound as if you had a choice in the matter, old man, Krieg mocked. I remember hearing tales of your feats. You were the undisputed master of a martial art that turned your legs into weapons of mass destruction, reducing bedrock to dust with just your kicks, leaving footprints behind in solid steel, feet bloodied after beating your foes to a mushy pulp. Hence the nickname. You may not have died, but you lose both your precious legs. Sanji and Reiju stood together, their expressions filled with a mix of remorse and reflection. The weight of past experiences weighed heavily on them, catching the attention of the ever-observant Luffy. Owner Zeph, a resilient man despite his lost legs, crossed his arms and spoke with determination. The loss of my legs doesn't define me. Cooking is my true calling, and as long as I have my arms and hands, I'll continue doing what I do best. But it seems cooking isn't of much interest to you, is it? Red leg. You sailed through that treacherous devil's nest, didn't you? And yet, you returned unscathed after a year-long voyage, Krieg taunted, his grin turning menacing. There must be a logbook with the full account of your journey. Hand it over. Eh, old man, you've been to the Grand Line? Luffy exclaimed, his curiosity piqued. Aye, Zeph replied. My logbook? Yes, I still have it. But it'll be a cold day in hell before you can get your hands on it. You'd have to pry it from my cold, dead hands. Zeph stared Krieg down, his resolve unyielding. I may have returned unscathed, but many of my comrades didn't. Some didn't return at all. That logbook is a testament to their memory. I'd never give it to the likes of you. Then I'll just take it by force, Krieg declared, his voice filled with determination. I indeed fled from the Grand Line, but I am Don Krieg, the strongest man. The mightiest of them all. Only weaklings would avoid the Grand Line, but not me. I possessed unmatched strength. My ships were filled with the most ruthless of men, driven by ambition. Krieg's frustration grew, and he lowered his gaze. The only thing I lacked was foresight and knowledge. That's what held me back, I just didn't know enough. And once I have this ship and that logbook, nothing will stand in my way. You can't have it. This ship is everything we have in this world, Patty yelled. Yeah, we've been banned from almost everywhere else, Carne chimed in. The other chefs joined in, their voices raised in protest. Chef Zeph saved us when nobody else would. We won't let you take our ship. Impudent fools, Krieg bellowed, his anger reverberating through his words. No one can challenge me. I've already proven that I'm the strongest of them all. With a new armada and the knowledge within Zeph's logbook, I'll capture the One Piece and become the king of this new era. Luffy interjected, his finger pointed directly at Krieg, a wide grin on his face. Hold it right there, did you forget already? I'm the one who will find the One Piece and surpass even Roger himself. You know what? I did forget about you, Krieg said, his voice dripping with coldness. The world of reality has no place for foolish dreamers like you. No place for dreamers like me, huh? We'll see about that, Luffy retorted confidently, a hint of amusement in his voice. Not dreamers, Luffy, a rough female voice chimed in. Just idiots like you, Bonnie said casually, propping her feet up on the table with a cheeky grin. Hey, Bonnie, be quiet. We don't want to get dragged into this, Nami scolded Bonnie in a hushed tone. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 Krieg burst into laughter. Don't tell me those two girls are your crew now. Pretty thin, ain't it? Or are they just hookers you bought? AHA, ha, ha. And no, Luffy squeaked out, feeling embarrassed. I got Sanji and Reiju as well. Don't count me in, you rubber for brains, Sanji yelled. However, Reiju had a slightly different reaction. We haven't even known each other for a week, and yet he's saying I'm his? How forward, she thought to herself, surprised. Grr, this is no game, brat, Krieg bellowed in fury. I had a fleet of 50 ships, with more than 100 men on each one. Yet, in 7 days, we were completely obliterated by that hellish sea. 7 days? Patty exclaimed. Krieg's armadas destroyed in just 7 days? What could have done it? Carne wondered aloud. What reckless impudence, Krieg said, his tone serious. Now listen carefully. I'm giving you all a chance at survival. I'm taking these men to my ship, and then I will return. Anyone who values their life should leave this ship immediately. If any of you crack wise and stay behind or attack my ship, I'll make sure to kill myself. Slowly. Got that, Straw Hat? He turned his gaze towards Luffy. Krieg hoisted the bag over his shoulder and began making his way to his ship. After Krieg's departure, Luffy collapsed to the floor, lying on his back. Sweat dripped down his face as he grinned widely and exclaimed, Phew! I thought I was a goner back there. She. Bonnie walked over and began nudging him with her foot, hoping to elicit a reaction. Sanji, please forgive me, I never anticipated that he would do something like this. Jin's voice trembled as he started sobbing. A man shouldn't cry over spilled milk, he should only clean up the mess he made, owner Zeph sagely advised. This comment sparked an uproar among the chefs. Don't console the guy, owner, he's the reason we're in this mess. Yeah, Sanji too. Sanji and Reiju want to destroy the restaurant. You'd do anything to become the head chef, wouldn't you, Sanji? And Reiju, she would go betray her brother's trust? Either that, or they're insane. Shut up, you damn eggplants, owner Zeph yelled, silencing everyone. Have any of you ever experienced true hunger? Have you ever been on the brink of starvation? Do you understand the fear that consumes your entire being? The agony a person goes through in that state? What are you trying to say, owner Zeph? Patty asked, bewildered. I'm saying this. If you have the time to grumble and moan, get the hell off my ship. Owner Zeph pointed his thumb over his shoulder. The back door is right over there, in case you idiots didn't know. I agree, Luffy finally spoke up, sitting up. Oh, come on. What are you babbling about? Bonnie rudely retorted. I'm trying to say that anyone who can hold us back should leave right now, Luffy said. One of the chefs objected, who are you to tell us what to do? I'm trying to warn you, so listen, Luffy yelled, catching everyone off guard. It was unlike his usual happy and upbeat demeanor. He appeared harsh, paranoid, and calculating. The armor he's wearing is known as a void arm. It was created alongside other weapons by an ancient kingdom to wage war against the alliance of 20 kingdoms, now known as the world government today, Luffy explained, tension rising in the room with each word. I won't go into all the what you need to know is that the armor Krieg wears is the Imperial Crusader. Shakutrazer. It's an ever-evolving armor that was once in the possession of the Marines but is now somehow in Krieg's hands. He stood up, turning around to address everyone directly. If Krieg were to go all out and catch us off guard, he could obliterate almost everyone here in an instant. With those words, the gravity of the situation became clear to everyone. Their lives were in the palm of this tyrannical monster. Anyone who isn't prepared to die and make peace with the lives they've led up until now should leave. In fact, everyone should just leave. I can handle them by myself, Luffy said as he turned around, ready to walk out the door. Wait a second, Luffy halted as a hand was placed on his shoulder. He turned to face Reiju. You may have worked here, but your lease is up. You have no reason to stay, and in case it wasn't clear, this is our home. Many of the people you see here can't find jobs elsewhere due to their pasts. I can't speak for all of them, but I'm damn sure not going to let a newbie like you dictate what we can or can't protect. With unwavering confidence, Reiju boldly proclaimed her determination to defend her home. I'll stay and fight as well, Patty declared, determination burning in his eyes. I'll be damned if I let Krieg have his way. More chefs began to rally together, their voices joining in unity. Me neither, this restaurant is my home, yeah, I've got nowhere else to go. Jin couldn't believe what he was hearing. "What? Are you fools?" he shouted. "The kid's right. What you saw was merely a fraction of Krieg's full power. You'd better run." Sanji, however, interrupted Jin, grabbing his attention. "Listen to me, Jin," Sanji began, his voice tinged with a hint of seriousness. "Through my hardships and experiences, I consider it my duty as a chef to feed the hungry. After your friends have had their fair share to eat, they'll just be plunderers with full stomachs. So don't come crying if I go and beat some of them to death." His gaze grew sharp, and his face adopted a menacing glare. "If they try to take over this ship, I'll slaughter them like cattle. The same goes for you, Jin. Got that?" Jin could only look on in shock, his earlier skepticism waning. "HMPH, so you save them, and then you kill them? Not very efficient if you ask me," Patty added, unable to resist making a snide remark. "Be quiet, crap cook," Sanji retorted, brushing off the comment. Luffy's grin widened after witnessing the crew's unwavering resolve. She, fine, have it your way. But if we're all going to fight, we're fighting my way, got that?" he exclaimed, his excitement evident. Everyone nodded, except for Nami, who still seemed uncertain about the situation. "By the way, Jin, you never mentioned anything about going to the Grand Line," Luffy brought up, curiosity in his voice. Jin trembled uncontrollably as he spoke, fear permeating every word. "I barely knew what happened that day," he confessed. "On that 7th day, there was a thick blanket of fog. And just thinking back on it makes me question my sanity. I tried telling myself it was an illusion, a dream perhaps. But despite the fog, it was so clear I couldn't deny it. He appeared out of nowhere. Just one man. How could a single man sink 50 ships?" Jin's declaration sent shockwaves through the Bharati. "What? Impossible. Krieg's armada was destroyed by one man." Jin continued, his voice filled with a mixture of terror and disbelief. "Before we knew it, ships started sinking, one after the other. If that storm hadn't hit us, the flagship would have sunk to the bottom too. I'm not sure how many ships are left. It was a sight straight out of hell. Even now, I don't want to believe it. I don't want to remember that man. That man whose piercing hawk eyes could kill with a glance," Jin shouted, his pain and anguish palpable. The revelation left everyone shaken, but none more so than Luffy and owner Zeph. They exchanged a solemn glance, their eyes reflecting the weight of the situation. It was clear to both of them who could have caused such immense destruction. Oh, the survivors of the Krieg crew feasted voraciously, their ravenous appetite leaving no room for savoring the flavors or maintaining any semblance of grace. Some of them consumed their food so hastily that they briefly choked on the morsels given to them, eliciting momentary gasps and coughs amid the chaos. "Uru, we're saved. I thought I was a goner. It's nothing short of a miracle. I can't believe we made it out alive." Their jubilant shouts reverberated through the air, resonating with a mix of relief and disbelief. Amidst the cacophony, Krieg silently observed his crew, a calculated grin etched upon his face, as if foreseeing their forthcoming fate. "It appears that you've regained your strength," Krieg commented, his voice laced with a sense of satisfaction. "Excellent. Now, we shall set sail once again and return to the treacherous seas of the Grand Line." The exultant cries abruptly subsided, giving way to an eerie silence. The crew seemed unsettled by Krieg's unexpected plan, their expressions shifting from joy to unease. Krieg himself grew visibly irritated by their reluctance. "Huh? Why the solemn faces?" he questioned, a hint of impatience seeping into his voice. The crew remained silent, except for one courageous soul who dared to voice their concerns, mustering the courage to speak up against the captain's decision. "What could there possibly be that would make us, willingly, return to that hell?" he queried. Before anyone could comprehend what had transpired, the crewmate who had voiced his doubts disappeared without a trace, leaving only a smoldering gash where he once stood and tendrils of smoke rising from Krieg's raised arm. "Does anyone else here feel rebellious today?" Krieg's cold inquiry sent shivers down their spines. "All hail Don Krieg. A-R-A-A-A-R-R-R." The crew erupted into a cheer that commenced with a half-hearted enthusiasm but swiftly morphed into a venomous display of loyalty. As the clamor subsided, Krieg addressed his subordinates, his eyes glinting with malevolence. "Very well, let us cast aside this burdensome wreckage. "A ship awaits us, one that bears our name," he announced with a sinister grin, relishing in their unwavering obedience. "I'm uncertain how many cowards fled with their tails between their legs, but there's one particular troublemaker on that vessel. A boy with a straw hat. You may deal with the rest as you please, but that one is mine." Krieg's smile revealed his insatiable thirst for blood, leaving no doubt about his intentions. "Oh, and get it through your heads. If Krieg so much as gives you a funny look while I'm taking him on, don't hesitate to start running. Understood?" Luffy's voice resonated with a fierce determination as he issued a stern warning to the Baratie crew. The crew members, their faces filled with complete understanding, nodded in unison, acknowledging Luffy's command. Seizing the brief moment of calm, Luffy utilized it to rally his crew, providing them with a clear strategy to face the impending threat of the Krieg pirates. He knew that their safety was paramount if he were to focus on defeating the formidable Don Krieg. "Good. I can't fight him while constantly worrying about you guys. Now, does anyone have any questions or suggestions before we head into battle?" Luffy asked, his gaze sweeping across the crew, encouraging their input. Among the crew, Reiju raised her hand, her eyes shining with eagerness to contribute. Luffy, recognizing her enthusiasm, paused and gestured for her to speak. "Actually, I believe I can play a more significant role in," Reiju began, her voice filled with confidence and a desire to make a difference. However, before she could finish her sentence, the air was pierced by a sudden uproar in the distance. "All hail Don Krieg! A-R-A-A-A-R-R-R!" The unmistakable cheers and battle cries of the approaching Krieg p the air, seizing everyone's attention. "That's them! They're approaching, it's their battle cry." The urgency in their voices was palpable as the Baratie crew braced themselves for the impending confrontation, their unwavering loyalty to their restaurant driving them forward. Luffy's gaze shifted towards Reiju, his expression filled with a mixture of regret and determination. "I'm sure your idea was a good one." "Sorry," he hastily apologized, his sense of responsibility pushing him to prioritize immediate action over discussions. Reiju's spirits momentarily dampened, feeling a pang of disappointment that she couldn't make a more substantial contribution at that moment. However, her resilient spirit quickly took over, and she regained her composure, knowing that there would be opportunities to prove herself in the battle that awaited them. With renewed determination, she joined the others outside, eager to witness what lay beyond her wildest imagination. Little did they know, this clash would test their limits, forge unbreakable bonds, and pave the way for their epic journey through the treacherous seas of the Grand Line. A few moments earlier, Luffy's heart raced with anticipation as he dashed forward, his allies from the Baratie staff, Bonnie, and Nami right beside him, all bracing themselves for the impending battle. Pirates scrambled hurriedly, making their way to their meager ships, some climbing down the hulls, others swinging off, and a few even leaping fearlessly into the chaotic fray. "Get ready to meet your demise," one pirate roared, his voice dripping with malice. "Your ship is ours now," another shouted triumphantly. "Don't expect any mercy," a third pirate sneered, his confidence oozing. The air crackled with tension as the world seemed to hold its breath, but in that single moment, everything froze. All eyes strained to discern the source of an ominous sound cutting through the atmosphere. Shang-ning, it resonated with a piercing clarity, a chilling prelude to the impending disaster. And then, with a thunderous crash, the once mighty flagship of the Krieg pirates shattered into 3 equal pieces, water gushing in to mercilessly flood the ravaged vessel. Shock and panic gripped those present as they stood frozen, their eyes glued to the unbelievable scene unfolding before them. "What in the hell just happened?" Krieg exclaimed, his voice filled with equal parts horror and confusion, mirroring the sentiments of his crew. "The ship, it's tilting, it was cut." One crew member managed to collect himself enough to respond to his captain's bewilderment. Krieg erupted into an explosive fit of rage. "Tilting? Cut? My flagship? Even in this state? How is that even possible?" The onlookers from the Baratie could only gape, their faces contorted with a mix of shock and awe. And in the midst of this chaos, Reiju swiftly emerged onto the scene, her presence commanding attention. "The anchor! Raise the anchor, or we'll be swallowed by the sea along with that ship," owner Zeph and Luffy bellowed in unison, their urgency filling the air. "Yes, sirs," one of the chefs exclaimed, immediately dashing off to fulfill the crucial command. As the dissipating mist unveiled the aftermath, a silhouette emerged from the haze, a lone figure perched upon a small boat. Luffy's eyes widened in recognition, his voice filled with disbelief and a hint of apprehension. "No way! Why is he here?" A murmur rippled through the remaining pirates as some recognized the intruder. "Don Krieg. It's him, the devil who sank our ships. He must have followed us all the way here. He's come to kill us all." "TTH. That fiend," Don Krieg managed to utter, his voice trembling with fear and despair. The inhabitants of the Bharati struggled to comprehend the unfolding situation. Patty was the first to vocalize his thoughts, his voice laced with curiosity. "So that's him? The guy who single-handedly sank 50 ships? He doesn't seem to be anything special." Carne questioned, seeking clarity. "What's the deal then? Did he blast that ship using some sort of cannon?" One of the chefs interjected, pointing out the absence of cannons on the intruder's vessel. "I don't see any cannons on his boat." Owner Zeph's voice cut through the confusion, revealing a crucial detail. "The weapon is on his back. It's his sword." "A sword?" Nami exclaimed incredulously. "Are you saying that a single sword caused all that destruction? Maybe if it were a devil fruit power or a void arm, I could understand, but..." "That's no void arm, but it's no ordinary sword either," Luffy interjected, his tone serious and filled with conviction. "To call that man a master swordsman would be a gross understatement. He possesses unmatched strength and unparalleled skill. Dracul Mihawk is undoubtedly the greatest swordsman in the world." Mihawk glanced over at the remaining Krieg pirates, many of whom had resigned themselves to their impending fate. His gaze held a mixture of indifference and superiority, as if their struggles were of no consequence to him. "Why? You damn monster! Why did you follow us all the way here?" One pirate mustered the courage to demand, his voice trembling with both fear and defiance. Mihawk tilted his head slightly, offering a nonchalant response. "No particular reason, primarily out of boredom." "For fun?" the pirate bellowed, his anger fueling 2 shots fired from his weapon towards Mihawk. The bullets whizzed through the air with deadly intent, but Mihawk's movements were swift and precise. In one fluid motion, he unsheathed his massive sword, effortlessly deflecting both projectiles with a resounding clang. The pirates watched in awe as the bullets harmlessly bounced off Mihawk's weapon. The sheer display of skill and control left them awestruck, their mouths agape as they realized the immense power they were up against. Mihawk's gaze hardened, a flicker of amusement dancing in his eyes. "You underestimate the strength of a true swordsman," he declared, his voice resonating with quiet authority. "Prepare yourselves. The real battle is about to begin." As the words left Mihawk's lips, a chill ran down the spines of the Krieg pirates. The nonchalant response carried a weight of indifference and danger, painting a vivid picture of Mihawk's power and merciless nature. Krieg himself, although filled with rage and despair, couldn't help but feel a sense of awe mixed with fear at the sight of the legendary swordsman. "So it has come to this," Krieg sighed, his voice laden with a mix of resignation and defiance. "To think a warlord would pursue me all the way back to the East Blue. I always knew I posed a threat to the world at large, but employing tactics like these? I suppose I'll have to deal with vermin like you." Krieg addressed Mihawk, his tone growing colder and darker with each word. "You must be Don Krieg," Mihawk stated dismissively, his voice dripping with disdain. "I've heard of your pitiful attempts to conquer the Grand Line with nothing but brute force. Pathetic." Krieg's face contorted, a maelstrom of anger and humiliation swirling within him. How dare this swordsman insult him, the great Don Krieg? His crew had weathered countless battles and emerged victorious against formidable foes. Yet, in the presence of Mihawk, Krieg couldn't help but feel like a mere ant. "No, in truth, I merely followed you here to finish what I started," Mihawk clarified with an air of indifference. "But I never thought I would encounter someone of this magnitude in the weakest of the seas." Stepping off his vessel and onto the wreckage of the dreadnought Saber, Mihawk commanded attention without uttering a single word. The pirates, knowing the reputation of this formidable swordsman, instinctively parted, allowing him passage. He unsheathed his sword, pointing it menacingly toward the Bharati. "I am not one to seek out conflict," But even the mightiest of beings cannot help but be in awe of the strength you have cultivated, Straw Hat, Mihawk declared, his voice ringing with an unsettling certainty. Inns turned to Luffy, seeking his input, waiting for his response. Luffy shifted nervously, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he tugged at his collar. Strength? I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, he said, his voice trembling slightly. Don't play games with me, Mihawk retorted, his tone growing fiercer. I can see it, clear as day, the haki emanating from you. Luffy groaned, rolling his eyes and face-palming. Why did I think that would work? Does this mean we're going to fight? Luffy asked hesitantly, his voice revealing a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Mihawk was taken aback by Luffy's question, though not for the reason one might expect. The haki possessed by the boy was peculiar, almost indescribable in nature. The only adjective that came close to describing its essence was Lovecraftian. However, Luffy's demeanor made it evident that he was aware of his haki's existence, yet ignorant of its true scope. Of course, and your reaction only makes this fight more necessary for your growth, Mihawk stated matter-of-factly. That is, unless you plan on squandering your talents, he taunted, a hint of challenge in his voice. Luffy bit his lip, a torrent of thoughts racing through his mind. The realization that he would likely be defeated by Mihawk weighed heavily on him. He desperately tried to envision a scenario where he could somehow persuade Mihawk to back down, allowing him to face Kireg at full strength. However, within the span of a few seconds, his thoughts were interrupted by a gentle hand on his shoulder. Luffy turned to see owner Zeph, wearing a much softer expression than he had ever seen before. Instead of dwelling on what might happen, focus on what's certain, at least for now, owner Zeph began, his voice filled with wisdom. There's nothing you could do to make Mihawk walk away. However, what is also true is that we all have our own strengths and can be relied upon. As Luffy glanced across the gathering of chefs, Bonnie, Reiju, Sanji, and Nami, owner Zeph continued. A single person can't sail a boat alone, so don't try to shoulder everything. Do what you must, and we'll pick up any slack as long as you fulfill your responsibilities dutifully. With those words alone, Luffy felt an enormous weight being lifted from his shoulders. Though he still harbored apprehension about his impending battle with Mihawk, he no longer felt as if he were the only one capable of shouldering this burden. However, there was still one nagging concern on his mind. But Kireg, the Shakutrazer, who can possibly fight against it? Luffy inquired, his voice tinged with worry. I can, a voice declared confidently. Reiju finally spoke up, voicing her stance in the matter. Bonnie immediately interjected, exclaiming, Girl, are you crazy? That thing is straight out of Sora, Warrior of the Sea? I had my reservations about Luffy facing that monstrosity, but you? Bonnie would have continued her rant if it weren't for the look in Reiju's eyes. There was no trace of anxiety or restlessness, only unwavering confidence in her strength and abilities. Luffy recognized this too, and a broad grin spread across his face. A carefree smile that had been absent for a while. All right, I'm putting my faith in you, Luffy said, his voice filled with determination. Don't let me down now. Reiju's face suddenly flushed with a hint of pink as she tried to conceal her rosy cheeks. HMPH. Well, you should have done so earlier. With his sandals removed, Luffy propelled himself toward Mihawk, flames erupting from his feet. As he found his footing on this newfound surface, all he could do was smile. A grin infused with both apprehension and uncertainty, yet dominated by genuine admiration for the man he was about to face. Even Mihawk couldn't help but crack a grin. So, are you ready? He asked. Ready as I'll ever be, Luffy replied, his voice exuding confidence and excitement. Luffy conjured a large plume of black smoke that emitted orange embers, covering the battlefield and himself, but not enough to engulf Mihawk. Now what was the purpose of that? Mihawk curiously muttered as he got into a defensive stance, ready for an attack. Ash in an instant, two rubbery arms exploded from beneath on both sides of Mihawk, their palms glowing with an ominous light blue, crackling electricity dancing along their elongated forms. Zap zap crack boom. With less than a second to act, Mihawk backstepped, putting as much distance between himself and the two arms, as they released a devastating torrent of thunder. The two arms then grabbed the floor and reshaped the part they were in contact with into two wooden handles. As the hands gripped, The arms became taut, ripping through the platform and sending planks and splinters in all directions. Moments later, he pulled himself forward with tremendous force, dragging his body through the thick black smoke. Simultaneously, he channeled the intense fire at his feet, adding a burst of acceleration to his flight as he soared toward Mihawk like a blazing comet. Luffy pulled his fist back, enveloping his entire body in his signature Vantablack Haki and a coat of raging fire. Mihawk countered by thrusting the flat of his sword to block Luffy's attack. The resulting impact sent a devastating shock wave outwards. The force of the impact sent both combatants recoiling. As they locked eyes, Mihawk spoke first. "Is that all you have to offer?" he goaded Luffy, inviting him to attack once more. "What I offer is a lot more than you can handle," Luffy retorted, both grinning with excitement and anticipation. With determination in their hearts, they both leapt towards each other, eager to test each other's prowess. Onami's life had been a relentless encounter with monsters, a cruel parade of their horrifying deeds that etched into her soul. She bore witness to their despicable range, from callous massacres sparked by the faintest transgressions to the annihilation of entire towns, all for the unpaid toll of a debt, even making her commit a grave atrocity. Amidst these grim realities, she held the conviction that she had plumbed the depths of human depravity. Then came Luffy, a force of nature who, time and again, shattered her preconceptions about pirates and the uncharted might within a single being. It was the climactic clash in Orangetown that initially shook her, a moment she believed had unveiled the pinnacle of Luffy's power and the sheer absurdity of the world itself. Yet, the present juncture ripped that illusion asunder, revealing a truth that coursed through her like lightning. In the very core of this moment, a realization dawned upon her, a revelation that she had barely skimmed the surface of existence's vast reservoirs. The world's secrets and wonders stretched far beyond her wildest imagination, mirroring the boundless depth of Luffy's latent potential. At the Bharati, tales of incredible power that resided in the world had been passed around among the crew, but they were often dismissed as exaggerated myths. Only Zeph truly understood the reality of these stories. However, everything changed when they bore witness to an awe-inspiring spectacle unfolding before their very eyes. Reiju and Sanji, in particular, were left speechless, their preconceived notions shattered. Having come from a background that led them to believe they understood the world better than others, Reiju and Sanji were taken aback by the overwhelming display of power and potential before them. The clash between two formidable individuals made them realize that the world was an uncharted sea of limitless possibilities and growth, possibilities they, too, could attain. Krieg's heart pounded with fury as he stared at the overwhelming reality before him. Throughout his life, he had always prided himself on being the strongest, the smartest, and the one who emerged victorious in every situation. The world had bowed down to him, forging a path of success meant for him alone. However, standing in front of him were titans, beings capable of dominating everything. Yet, one of these titans had submitted themselves to the will of the world government, relinquishing their power in servitude. The other was a mere novice in their journey, just beginning to tap into their boundless potential. It infuriated Krieg to witness such immense power being offered to someone else. All that raw strength, with so much more to attain, and here he stood, feeling insignificant in the presence of these two forces. It was as if the entire world itself defied his attempts to control it. Bonnie leaned against a nearby railing, her eyes tracking the sparks that flew from the intense clash before her. A hint of indifference colored her expression, for she had always known Luffy possessed strength, but never to this extent. Yet, strength was never a particular concern of hers. In truth, Bonnie cared little for fighting and conflict in general. To her, life offered so many better pursuits than shedding blood and proving one's strength. In her younger years, she would have found herself despising these two combatants, detesting their enjoyment in battling each other for no better reason than to determine who was stronger. However, time had changed her perspective, and she had matured. She now understood that not all fights were the same. Some could even be seen as healthy and spirited competition. This encounter fell into that category. Despite her usual apathy towards any form of conflict, even Bonnie could not deny the undeniable skill on display. The sheer level of proficiency and the countless hours spent honing their abilities were evident, even to someone who cared as little for battles as she did. Oh, as the battle raged on, the intensity grew with every passing moment. Mihawk couldn't help but feel his enthusiasm waning as he realized that Luffy wasn't as formidable as he had initially believed. Luffy darted around Mihawk, launching multiple lightning-fast attacks, leveraging the momentum of his previous movements to increase the speed of each successive strike. His movements were so rapid that he appeared as a mere blur, his silhouette becoming distorted, and it seemed as if he was moving backward in time. In a sudden move, Mihawk brought Luffy to a complete stop, sending him crashing backward. Mihawk's expression turned serious, and he questioned Luffy, "Who are you?" Caught off guard by the seemingly random question, Luffy sheepishly replied, "I'm human?" "No, I didn't mean that," Mihawk sharply interrupted. "What I want to know is your purpose here. Those standing behind you seem like chefs defending their livelihood from the surrounding pirates. What role do you play? Are you a cook? A pirate? A random bystander who happened to be eating at that restaurant before all of this?" "I'm a pirate, a captain," Luffy answered instantly, without hesitation. Mihawk pondered this for a moment, then asked another question. "Do you have a crew?" Nervously scratching the back of his head, Luffy looked down, embarrassed to meet Mihawk's gaze. Well, I suppose. "No what-ifs, technicalities, or anything of the sort," Mihawk interjected sternly. "Do you have a crew?" There was a brief silence as Luffy stood up straight but still avoided eye contact. "No." "And how long have you been on this pirate adventure?" Mihawk pressed on. 5 days, Luffy replied, his voice barely audible. Murmurs spread among the onlookers, realizing that Luffy had just embarked on his journey, and he was entirely new to the pirate life. By the blade, Mihawk sighed in disappointment. "What am I doing?" Frustration and embarrassment welled up inside Luffy, and he couldn't hold back any longer. "Don't you dare patronize me," he exclaimed. Pointing his hands at Mihawk, he conjured a vast array of fiery contraptions, various weapons, and humming green orbs. Without hesitation, everything moved into action. The firearms unleashed a barrage of flaming bullets, the weapons launched themselves towards Mihawk, and the green orbs shot laser beams at him. However, with a single graceful motion, Mihawk redirected and dispelled all the incoming attacks. Confused and frustrated, Luffy thought to himself, "What? How? We can't be this unequal. I should have seen it from the start. The way you use your haki," Mihawk said, pinching the bridge of his nose in exasperation. "What's wrong with the way I use my haki?" Luffy questioned with incredulity. "Your haki is fundamentally impeccable. In fact, I've yet to witness anyone amass such an immense wellspring of haki as you possess. But let me offer a conjecture. In this vast world, it's doubtful there exists a soul capable of rivaling your haki's sheer abundance. It's your haki's execution that stands as the issue," Mihawk declared, lifting his arm and raising a single, pointed finger. "Initially, your usage of armament haki appears startlingly rudimentary for one of your caliber. You merely enrobe yourself in it. Furthermore, I've noticed that when you do employ it, your approach seems all or nothing. You struggle to finesse the output of your haki," he continued, extending another finger. "Secondly, your approach to observation haki, while undoubtedly distinctive, is woefully inefficient and lacks the ability to promptly and directly forewarn you of impending attack or hostile intent." Luffy, baffled, responded, "What do you mean? I can't even use observation haki." His admission was straightforward and clear. Mihawk fixed him with an incredulous gaze. "What are you saying?" Luffy's embarrassment resurfaced. Well, what I mean is that, whenever I do try, it overwhelms my senses and gives me splitting headaches," he admitted. "So, you're telling me," Mihawk queried with disbelief, "that you can't even discern whether or not you're utilizing haki? I came to the East Blue with modest expectations, but this... You have no idea what you're blabbering about," Luffy's voice thundered. "I've poured my heart and soul into this journey, relentlessly training my body and absorbing knowledge from countless books to improve myself even further. You can't simply judge me on my weaknesses alone. In fact, compared to most guys you'll see on the Grand Line, I'm pretty strong," he asserted passionately. "Strength, you say? While you may meet the bare minimum of where I stand, you pale significantly in comparison to those at the zenith," Mihawk countered. "That's beside the point," Luffy's shout reverberated. "It doesn't matter if I don't measure up to the emperors or whoever else now. I'll carve my path, no matter who stands in my way. Mihawk thought for a few moments before speaking once again. You claim to be a pirate, correct? Does this mean your sights are fixed on the One Piece and becoming the Pirate King? A broader, more determined grin spread across Luffy's face. Yeah, and even more than that. I'll uncover the One Piece, but I'll surpass even Roger. I'll be greater than the Pirate King himself. A fleeting smile played upon Mihawk's lips. A smile not born of readiness for combat, mockery, or cynicism. Instead, it was infused with a gentle amusement and an almost carefree eagerness. However, this expression was quickly replaced by a stoic grimace. You tread a perilous path, even more perilous than trying to surpass that's truly your aspiration. Then allow me to demonstrate a glimpse of the challenges you'll confront along this chosen path, Mihawk declared, assuming a stance that hinted at his sword, sheathed at his side. Despite being made of the toughest and hardest material on the planet, Luffy couldn't help but feel fear. He once again coated his body in his Vantablack haki. He then shouted, "Iron Body." As he did, his body suddenly tensed up in an unnatural way, clear enough to see through his coat of haki. He swung only, he didn't swing his blade. As if time had come to a standstill for everyone else, Mihawk's movements appeared almost imperceptible. One moment, he stood in his initial stance, and in the next, he was seen with his blade on the other shoulder, as if he had already swung it. The movement was the slight flutter of his clothes, with the ends of his garments hanging momentarily in the air. Luffy expected an attack but felt nothing even after Mihawk changed position. He quickly brought his hands up and patted his entire body, still coated in haki. "What did you do?" "SPFFFFFT. Luffy." Oh god. A wide X-shaped cut gushed blood, tearing cleanly through Luffy's forearms, across his chest, and leaving only loose tendons in his shoulders to hold what remained of his arms. His haki and the strange tension dissipated as he collapsed to his knees, coughing up a waterfall of blood. Gasping, he managed to mutter, "How? Strength, true strength," Mihawk coldly declared. "You're far from realizing your distant dreams. Your mindset holds you back, despite your strength." Approaching Luffy, Mihawk continued, and Bonnie signaled to jump over the railing to help him, others following suit. "Get away from him, Birdface. I'll fry you." As Mihawk wordlessly pointed his blade at them, time seemed to stand still. The air grew heavy, anticipation hanging in the silence. Their muscles tensed, hearts pounding, as they faced the unyielding gaze of the world's greatest swordsman. Frozen in fear, they watched as Mihawk approached Luffy. Raising his chin with the blade, Mihawk delivered a harsh truth. "Everything you've done up to this point in time is worthless. You believe that your years of dedication and preparation must be rewarded by the fruits of said labor, but you couldn't be further from the truth. These seas are fickle, never favoring one over the other. The only constant in these water are change, and that's what will kill you." Mihawk's glare sharpened even more. "As long as you continue relying on past achievements to gauge the present, you'll never grow any stronger than you are now." Sheathing his blade, Mihawk walked away, leaving Luffy on his knees. Die. Die cursing no one else but yourself, but with the knowledge you had the potential to be the strongest. As Mihawk walked back to his vessel, despair made its way to the hearts of Luffy's allies. No one there had known Luffy for more than a week, yet his charm and wit quickly found a place in their lives. Tears began welling up in many eyes. Denial racked many brains, and all grieved. Wait. The world halted. Mihawk turned in a flash, expecting to see Luffy defeated, his body broken. But he turned around to a surprising sight. On his knees, ethereal snakes coiled around Luffy, mimicking stitches, reteaching limbs, and closing wounds. His will burning brighter than ever for all to see. Luffy coughs up some leftover blood still left in his throat. "We're not finished," he says as a devilish grin makes its way across his face. "For real?" Mihawk asks with labored breaths. He stood, revealing wide but shallow gashes. "For real, real. I'm still One Piece-ish, and kicking," Luffy replies. "I couldn't be pretty with it," Luffy thought. "I need every ounce of power I can muster. I can't spare the energy to heal completely. My organs, nerves, and veins took priority. I'll treat flesh wounds traditionally afterwards." Luffy stood, showcasing his injuries. "Your devil fruit. How annoying, bingo." You just bagged yourself a whopping 10 billion points. Luffy swiftly adopts a mischievous Cheshire grin. You preached about arrogance and how it holds me back, but the reason you're about to bite the dust is that you didn't chop off my head with that oversized kitchen knife. Mihawk's irritation flares. Me? Lose? To you? You may have healed yourself up, but it appears you still lack the required amount of blood for basic thought. Not today. You said it yourself, didn't you? I have the potential to be the strongest. Someday, be it in a year or maybe 2 decades, you'll be battered and bruised while I stand tall, without a scratch. She. Hemp. So in your own words, this is just a prelude to what lies ahead. Mihawk questions, a spark of excitement kindling within him. Is it? Yeah, I guess it is. In an instant, Mihawk assumes a stance and charges at Luffy, aiming to cut him down where he stands. With minimal effort, Luffy sidesteps Mihawk's attack, enveloping his entire body in haki once again and attempting to strike Mihawk. However, Mihawk swiftly moves back, causing Luffy's attack to miss. To onlookers, it appears as if the clash is destined to repeat itself, with Luffy throwing everything at Mihawk, only for it to amount to nothing. Yet, this time, a difference emerges, becoming increasingly evident as the battle unfolds. What's that idiot doing? Nami's brow furrows as her fist clenches around the railing. Why isn't he using his devil fruit? Unlike the previous flashy display, now, only sparks that fill the air are from the impacts of each combatant's attacks. Those watching thought he was either insane for holding back or that he simply couldn't muster the strength to use his powers. Despite the self-imposed handicap, Luffy manages to keep up with Mihawk, parrying more slashes, redirecting more attacks. The match, though Luffy still can't land a hit, looks more even than before, even with Luffy's evident fatigue. Initially frustrated, Nami now finds herself confused. She had thought Luffy refrained from using his devil fruit as an act of defiance against Mihawk. Yet, now, it seems Luffy denied himself one of his most versatile and powerful tools, and despite that, he is proving to be a worthy opponent for the greatest swordsman. There were others who shared her confusion but were willing to express it more openly. Hey, what's Coryboy thinking? Why is he so fixated on hand-to-hand combat? Patty asks, addressing no one in particular. Reiju attempts to answer Patty's question. It's just a theory, but it's not that he's not using only hand-to-hand combat. He's sealed off everything but hand-to-hand combat. Nami looks back at the unfolding battle with this new perspective. Her eyes widen in realization. What the hell are you talking about? Bonnie asks. Are you saying Luffy isn't using his powers because they weren't working before? Nami clarifies, that's part of the reason. He isn't using his devil fruit because his abilities are too versatile. Yeah, the young miss hit the nail on the head, Zeph says. From what I've seen, his devil fruit has numerous applications and uses. But in live combat, all those choices cause a delay in his reactions and thought processes. By ignoring all his other abilities and focusing solely on hand-to-hand combat, he eliminates these delays and responds more swiftly to Mihawk's attacks. Damn, doesn't this guy remember he gutted me like a fish? He could at least lighten up, Luffy jokes to himself. Luffy unleashes a volley of high-speed jabs, each hit comparable to being struck by a cannonball. Not a single jab lands. Mihawk gracefully dodges every attack, creating openings for himself to slash. Crick Shi Ng another air slash breaks upon contact with Luffy's body. That was heavy, but still not enough. To break through, he probably has to get into one of those stances like before. At the last second, Luffy ducks underneath Mihawk's sword and attempts to sweep his feet, only for Mihawk to jump and attack once more. It's annoying how effective his observation haki is. He's dodging attacks before I even pull back my arms or legs. It's like he's phasing through my attacks like a logia user. Luffy thinks as he dodges a flurry of chops and slashes, getting nicked by a handful. The vibrations disorient Luffy, opening him up to another flurry of attacks. But Luffy adopts the same mischievous Cheshire grin from before. He still hasn't caught on yet. How is this kid still standing? Mihawk thinks to himself as a single bead of sweat drops down his brow. He's fully aware that these attacks don't do much but rattle him, yet he isn't giving himself an opportunity to land a piercing blow. Luffy tries to kick Mihawk's torso, but Mihawk blocks it with the flat of his blade, opening himself up for an overhead attack. His bodges have thought and intent behind them, but when it comes to offense, it seems as though they're fueled by desperation. The battle continues until Mihawk lands a precise blow in the middle of Luffy's chest, sending him flying backward. A wide smile defying all logic stretches across Luffy's face. He quickly assumes a 4-point stance, similar to what sprinters use just before running on a track. Mihawk readies his blade to block, but he couldn't predict what would happen next. No one could. Luffy's feet erupt with flames, and in less than an instant, all that can be heard is a sonic boom. Mihawk, shaken, steps back in anticipation to dodge, only to have the wood beneath his feet crumble as he begins to fall into the water below. What? Why now of all times, Mihawk thinks to himself. Time seems to slow as Luffy's fist aims for where his face will be in a couple of moments. Oh, I see. Luffy's grin widens as he sees Mihawk's face. You finally realized it, but you realized it too late. Yeah, I stopped using my fire to react better, but that doesn't mean I stopped using the disassembling aspect of my devil fruit. All I had to do was weaken the integrity of the wood around us, and the impact of our fight would do the rest. You were so focused on my next move that you didn't realize the breaking would conveniently leave you in a position with no escape as the platform below shattered due to the sonic boom I created. As Luffy's fist nears Mihawk's face, a familiar feeling washes over Luffy. This is just like back then. Several years ago, the air was thick with tension as a younger Luffy, approximately 15 years old, lay in a fetal position at the end of a wide path strewn with rubble and fallen trees. Cough cough Luffy groaned while Garp, his grandfather, approached with laughter echoing in the background. AAA, ha, 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 what happened, Squirt? You were so proud of that weird body you have now, AAA ha, 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 ha. This was around the same time that Luffy made his breakthrough, thanks to Dr. Vegapunk's guidance, where he finally figured out how to incorporate Lugarite, Lonsdaleite, and Gomu into his body. Luffy, eager to surpass his grandfather, believed his new abilities would secure victory. But Garp used a move on him that he'd never seen him use before. Luffy passed out the moment the attack hit him. His unconscious body had been flung back so violently that it uprooted trees and ripped up the ground that he flew over. What was that? Cough cough asterisk, Luffy asked, still in the fetal position. Garp, bashful, confessed, it's a secret move that only Marines can use, scratching his cheek. Yeah right. Luffy had an idea to draw the truth out of Garp. If you won't tell me, I'll just ask Dr. Vegapunk. Okay fine, I'll tell you, Garp hastily admitted. Luffy had recently learned from an offhanded comment Grandpa Senny made, that Garp felt neglected and been feeling a bit jealous of Vegapunk due to Luffy spending more time with him than Garp. That was how this whole thing started, with Luffy asking to spare with his grandfather so they could spend more time with each other. Garp, frustrated, admitted, to be honest, I don't even know too much about it myself. Huh? I just get this feeling whenever I punch that I can punch even harder without trying to punch harder. You get what I'm saying? Garp tried to explain. Yeah, I think I get it, Luffy muttered, refraining from pressing further to avoid hurting Garp's feelings. And that his grandfather will get the idea that if he hits him again with the same attack he'll understand better. 1 month later. A way to make an attack stronger without additional force behind it? Vegapunk inquired. Yeah, Gramps hit me some weird attack about a month and that's how he described it. Luffy explained to Dr. Vegapunk. Dr. Vegapunk, intrigued, rubbed his chin while contemplating Luffy's words. Huh? What is it? Luffy asks. Vegapunk waved his hand. Sorry, your explanation had me stumped until I remembered who explained it to you. So you know what I'm talking about, Vegapunk responded. Yes, in fact, it's a well-documented phenomenon. Well-documented? Phenomena? Luffy wondered aloud. Realizing this was much more profound than this just being his grandfather's move. I haven't covered this topic yet, but there's no harm in giving a teaser. Here, take a seat. Vegapunk pulls out a chair for Luffy to sit on as he sits on the desk. Now, I know you're familiar with hockey. Heck, you're capable of using it. Luffy rolls his eyes at that comment, and didn't go unnoticed by Dr. Vegapunk. But what you might not know is that hockey doesn't have a constant state of matter or shape. Yet, it's characteristically defined as hard. Haki is something like a non-Newtonian fluid. It exists in a flow that is different based on the user's will and the force applied to it. Luffy interrupted, "Wait, that sounds like, yes," Vegapunk explained. Haki is the inspiration for our current project. Nanomachines that harden in response to electrical signals produced by the brain or physical trauma. Back to the topic of Haki, in order to even attempt what your grandfather did, a person must be acutely aware of the flow of their Haki down to the smallest detail. Then an impact imbued with Haki must be applied within a trillionth of a second of a physical hit. This sudden force applied to Haki will react violently with the, well, let's go with, non-Newtonian nature, since I already used that as an example. The force applied will cause the Haki to implode within itself with such force that it distorts space, resulting in an explosion of force with astronomical impact immediately followed by a blinding flash. This impact possesses the force of, on average, x to the power of 2.5 y. X being the strength of the impact alone and y being how much Haki they put into the attack. So it's not a technique? Luffy asked. No, far from it. In fact, there isn't anyone in the world who can will it on command. Luffy interjected, so what Gramps did that day, that was just based on chance. Hold on, you didn't even give me a chance to finish my thought. Vegapunk paused. There isn't anyone in the world who can will it on command, except your grandfather Monkey D. Garp. In fact, it's thanks to him that we know so much about it today. So if I could pull it off, I could be as strong as him? Luffy asked Vegapunk. Potentially. Vegapunk replies, what do you mean? Think back on what I said, on average, and as you are deeply familiar with, Garp is exceedingly far from average. What do you mean by that? That, y, in 2.5y is rarely ever a factor. Simply put, normal people don't have the enough Haki to change that, so in the end y will almost always equal 1. Vegapunk explains. So Gramps has enough Haki to have sway over that variable. Luffy says, realization slowly dawning on him. Yes. By how much? If a normal person is x to the power of 2.5, then Garp is x to the power of 6. Hey, Gramps really is amazing, Luffy said, almost pitying himself due to their difference. Dr. Vegapunk, seeing this, hops of the desk and pulls a second chair out and sits next to Luffy, wrapping his arms around the boy. Come on now, don't beat yourself up about that. But I can't even control my Haki. Even grunts in the Marines can control their Haki. I'm supposed to be the grandson of the hero of the Marines, yet there are thousands of run-of-the-mill Marines who can control their Haki better than me. I actually have a theory about that. Vegapunk says, pulling his arm back, intriguing Luffy. I believe the reason that you can't control your Haki is because you simply have too much of it. What? If the usage of Haki is like pouring water from one bucket to another, and Haki is the water, from the very beginning, your water is already overflowing the first bucket, Vegapunk theorized. Anyways, how can you place expectation on yourself based on what you've seen being done by other if you never seen yourself perform those? If I had to say, based on my theory, you'll hit harder than your old man ever could. Thanks for that, I guess I needed to hear that, Luffy says, grateful to be the student of Dr. Vegapunk. Vegapunk reassures Luffy, for my #1 student, I'll say it anytime you want. By the what is it called? What is what called? You know, Luffy punches the air to try to explain, the thing. Oh, Vegapunk slaps his large forehead. I forgot to mention that. Sorry, you know I get when I get wrapped in the our studies it's called. Present time, Black Flash. When Luffy's fist connected with Mihawk's face, an explosive mix of Vanta Black and Crimson Red energy engulfed them both. In the epicenter of this intense burst, a fleeting moment revealed a dazzling brilliance of vibrant gold. The impact sent Mihawk hurtling backward. Had he not reinforced his head and neck with concentrated Haki at the last possible moment, his head alone would have been propelled in the opposite direction. The sheer force of the attack and the speed at which Mihawk was flung back seemed to alter the very direction of the wind. His body collided with sections of the still intact ship, causing it to disintegrate into countless minuscule wooden fragments, too small to be labeled as splinters. Upon landing on a new platform and regaining his bearings, Mihawk bore the aftermath of the encounter. His nose was shattered, teeth scattered on the ground, and the central region of his face displayed a sickly purple hue. As Mihawk shifted his gaze toward Luffy, remnants of the Black Flash lingered in the air. Crackles of Vantablack and crimson-red electricity, accompanied by strangely golden embers, created an eerie ambiance. Observing Luffy, whose body was coated in blood with open wounds, his expression revealed only a cold and smug smile. Unable to resist, Mihawk found himself returning a crooked grin of his own.